I'll watch it, but I didn't want to watch it at normal speed. I wanted it sped up because, I mean, I'll explain when we start the show here. So
I thought we were
You already
live.
started.
This is where the fun is. This is where you need to go. Where we talk about films and help you get to know. So stick around for Tom and Gerry here on Pop Culture Minefield. Where we talk about films and help you get to know. So stick around for Tom and Gerry here on Pop Culture Minefield. Stick around for Tom and Gerry here on Pop Culture Minefield. Stick around for Tom and Gerry here on Pop Culture Minefield.
Don't get me started. Don't eat.
So, Anima and I just watched Alien Romulus.
Correction,
And,
I listened to it. I didn't watch it that much.
I don't know what you're doing on your end. I have no idea. So, how dare you presume that I should know exactly what the fuck you're doing on your end?
You know how I am with
Um,
movies like that.
but
I just love
I
it.
Tom and I will be talking about it. Tom's a little behind schedule. He'll be here soon. But also, you'll see I have my new logo here because I am going to be doing a show. I don't know how often, but it'll be called Just the Gerry Show, where I'll be talking about something stupid or maybe fun. I don't know.
What's
All
different from our
depends on who-
regular shows?
Yeah, that was the thing.
It all depends on who you are. So we did watch Romulus, as did I think Tom saw it too. I know Andre did. I talked to Andre before watching it today. Just a little conversation, and I pointed out. I said going into this, I already know there are going to be nods to Blade Runner in it because Ridley's been trying to connect that universe for a while. There we go. There's Tom. Hey, Tom. Will you let me do this,
Space.
please? Stop.
No
Stop.
one can
Stop.
hear you scream.
There we go.
But after Alien Romulus, you can hear him scream.
I want a refund.
Nice.
I got to tell you, I enjoyed it to a certain point. I was annoyed by some of it. And apparently, and Chris said today, Tom, that notes were handed to Fede Alvarez through the studio, and I'm assuming that means from Ridley, to add certain things to it. And I'm suspecting a lot of the member berries were from Ridley.
I can't confirm if they were from Ridley. I know there were studio notes via
I guarantee
my insiders.
Ridley's studio notes were make it gay with more robots.
More robots. Because, I know Andre talked about it on his review. Non-spoiler.
He was harsh. He rarely uses the term fucking, and he did for this.
Yes, he
He
did.
said, I flat out fucking
pissed about
hated
some
it.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know what he hated. I saw everything that I knew he hated. And I had issue with it. But there are parts of it that I really enjoyed. And this always happens there'll be some things that you like about something, but then you're like, why did you stray into these other areas? Why didn't you just stick to this thing you were doing? Because it seems to me from the beginning, this is going to be a survival film, a haunted house film where they got to get out of the haunted house alive, and it's such a simple concept. And Ridley, I guarantee you, is Ridley that convoluted everything in that film.
Well, can I give
I don't want to spoil it.
Can I give a non-spoiler positive reaction, which isn't really defending it so much as just saying this is a movie that did everything that it set out to do. I'm a aliens, and that's it. Brain headcanon holder, whatever you want to call that. So it doesn't really matter to me what the other sequels or prequels do. If I don't like them, I'm just like, that's not in my canon. Fine. This is something that's kind of like I've heard some people say it's a greatest
or
hits or it's like a cover band. But I think it took from
the official cover band.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It took from different movies, good and bad, and it played with those ideas in ways that I thought were more successful. But ultimately, and we mentioned, Scorsese saying movies aren't movies anymore; they're funhouse rides, and that really is what I think. I took my family, and I'm able to put my normie glasses on when I watch movies. My daughters, 12 and 18, are normies. My wife is a normie. They don't like any of Dad's geek stuff. We went as a family. They had a freaking great time. There were some things you could tell were like the studio notes that were kind of cringe or WTF, but I could visually in my head imagine this being a carnival ride where you get in the cart and it like starts to drive you through, and it's like, okay, now you're on this part of the space station with the face huggers, now you're on this part of the space station in the hive, and now you're almost out, but here's this thing that doesn't really fit in the movie, but
there's this new thing that we added that you've got to survive this now too. And it's, by the way, I'm going to point something out here. That is a rebuffering of the fucking critter from Alien Resurrection. That's all that was to me.
Yeah. And it was better in Resurrection.
I did get that. And that's what I'm talking about, pulling from different aspects of different movies and kind of retooling them. It was weird, but here's the thing. Fede Alvarez really only has one story. It's just the same slasher story over and over again. It's what Evil Dead was. And from what I never saw Don't Breathe, but what I've heard from Don't Breathe, it's the same thing there as well. They got to
survive the old blind guy who's an expert.
Horrible
killer.
Look,
Look,
his latest Evil Dead, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he didn't do that with Evil Dead. No,
I didn't like any of them.
Are you talking about Evil Dead Rise? Because that wasn't him.
Yeah.
That wasn't him.
I didn't like Evil Dead Rise, but I didn't like Evil Dead that he did either. I know it's supposed to be in the same universe, but
loved that movie.
I didn't like either one of those, so either way, yeah.
Yeah,
but again,
these are here.
This is a guy who's, this is kind of what he's doing. He's got his finger on the pulse of what modern. I'm not talking modern audiences when I talk about like The Message or anything like that. I'm just talking about, he's got his finger on the pulse of what gets kids' attention and takes them along for the ride, and he retools what he's been given to do that. So I think ultimately I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was successful. I see it, like I said, on the carnival ride, and I grew up loving bad, or I won't even say bad, but low budget grindhouse movies with a lot of crazy bonkers stuff going on that didn't always make sense. And right. I spent my friends and I would get together at each other's houses and watch these things into the wee hours of the morning and have a great time. And to me, this was nothing but a franchise 4K, like slasher grindhouse film. And on that, I think it was successful on pretty much every level. Like I said, some of those cheesier moments were studio notes and the callbacks and all. It was fine. It didn't bug me.
Look, I got to get the show started, but
my
last statement on it is the film. Maybe it works as a ride, but it doesn't work as a film for me. That's my only problem with it. It doesn't work as a solid film. And when I go to see a movie, I want to see a movie. I want to see a story. I want to see characters. And the only thing that really stood out in this film was Rain and Andy. And they were the only characters that I cared about in the film. And the rest of them seemed like they were written to be fodder. And I don't like it. When I sense that characters just there to die, I'm not interested in them. So
it's a movie of extremes. The goods are really good. The bads are really bad.
Got to get to this.
And evens out.
Got to get to this.
Yep.
So welcome to Emmanuel. She was the first one here today. Inner Circle was here early. Inner Circle is listening in because they're a big fan of Alien and are looking forward to hearing what Tom and the gang here all have to say about the movie. So it's good to see you. Lord Thoth is here. All hail Lord Thoth. Let's see. Deleted Scenes is with us here, so I'm not going to mention him. I'm sure, though, that Martin wrote it into the fucking who's here in the chat. So I'll have to repeat his name again because I'll be reading it. Slasher Fred is here. He's a big horror fanatic like the rest of us. Sci-Fi Mombi is here. Greetings, Sci-Fi Mombi. Our dear friend, what is his name? I always have trouble saying his name. Yeah, that's who it is. Bush is here. Snortopupus Cuber is here. And of course, we say to him, hello.
Our favorite polar bear.
Oh, Wade is here. Excellent. Good to see you, buddy. Let's see. And Lauren is here. I see Lauren is here. What is this? I see a good comment here. They seem to be making many sequels to celebrate the anniversary of the original. Yeah, it's to celebrate. That's why they're doing it. It's not a cash grab or anything.
It's never about the money.
I'm always cynical. Oh, hey, Mike is here. There he is. And
Well, there's always going to
Connie
be money.
Cleary is here. Connie Cleary is, of course, one of our wrenches. Good to see you, Connie. And there's Lauren right there. Oh, hey, who's this? Country Shaped Media, one of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time. Case closed. Absolutely. And I'm going to tell just real quick. I closed my eyes at the facehugger scene in the original film when it came out. I was 15, and my heart started racing, and I had to close my eyes. And I was angry. I didn't get to see it till I was an adult. I was so embarrassed. Curtis Selby is here. Let's see. Regis Frishy is here. Hola. Hello.
No, that's French, Gerry. He says he's. Oh,
I don't care.
They say they're from France.
I don't care. That's not why I did it.
Bonsoir.
That's not why I did it.
Hello.
You assume a lot. Let's see. Shadow of the Raven is here. We got some good folks here in the chat. So, oh, and Vinkman's Girl is here. So, the gang is almost all here. So, we're going to be talking about a classic alien film, 1979. I don't know how old you guys were, but I was 15 when it came out.
You got to understand something. Since I am the only alien in this panel, I should be the one to talk in this show.
Oh, Anima's not.
No, she's not. She's living in her native country. I am the only one transplanted here, so I am the alien.
Okay.
I've been transplanted for 5 years.
Martin's going to jump on your face.
I'm going to
isn't that what Mexicans do? Just jump on the face. And
how old were you guys?
I don't know. I am not one.
Oh my God! Can I please ask this fucking question? I would appreciate it. Jesus Christ! I don't know how old you guys were when Alien came out, or if you're even around. But were you around? First question: were you around when Alien was released? And two, how old were you when you saw it? We'll start with Chris.
Sorry.
I was 3 when the original came out, and I was 10 when I saw it. We got it on VHS, and I actually knew about the film because my mom had this habit of not letting me see rated R films, but since she knew I was intrigued, she would tell me about them. She would tell me the whole story. And then finally, when I was old enough, like 10 years old seemed to be old enough, She let me see it. I watched it from behind a wall because we had a living room and a family room connecting. So it was playing in the family room. And I would run around and I'd like peek around the corner because a movie scared the hell out of me. And I've been obsessed ever since. Huge fan of Aliens. And for me, the movie stopped there. I also just purchased Aliens Expanded, by the way. It is a brilliant documentary. Highly recommend it. I'm waiting for my Blu-ray to show up. I have my digital download.
I'm waiting for The Thing because I want that one.
That looks really
Alien,
good too.
I would like to have, but The Thing is a must for me. Tom, how old were you when Alien came out, and when did you first see it?
I was -1 or 2 when it came out, and I didn't see it until I was probably like. Here's a weird thing. I saw the films in a weird order because I was like not really old enough to see the first two. At least my parents weren't really keen on me seeing them. They're one of the few times they were kind of touchy about that subject, I guess, for some reason. Mainly just probably because my mom didn't care for him or whatever, I suppose.
Right.
But I saw Alien 3 first because that came out in 92 on video. So that was the first available one that I could rent, and I was old enough to rent, and everybody was talking about it. So then I went back retroactively and watched 1 and 2. And of course fell in love with them, and then seen how inferior 3 was to the other two. But I don't hate 3 like a lot of people do because of the fact that I saw it first. So I can kind of view it as its own kind of thing in a weird way. I know it's funky like that. But yeah, so like the first 2 films though are the seminal films, and those are the films that I consider the Alien franchise. Everything else is just an also ran or complete garbage in my opinion. So
right.
Yeah, like outside of the first
that.
2 films, which kind of capture basically everything you need out of an Alien film of this franchise, basically.
And Alien 3 is, of course, the one where they go to the penal colony. Originally, it was supposed to be they landed on a planet of monks. Was the original premise for that. But so let's get into this with Martine. Were you around when the movie came out, and how old were you when you first saw it?
Oh, yes. I was 6 when that movie came around, and I had what my favorite uncle, who's now is deceased, sadly. He was a sci-fi junkie, just like his 6-year-old nephew, and he saw it, and he was so excited and said and he was bummed that I couldn't see it because it was 18 in Venezuela. It was rated 18, so I couldn't see it, and I had to wait for years like crazy until I got it. I watched it on TV. I can't remember at what age, but yes, did I expect that? And boy, I was not disappointed.
What age range were you? Would you say like 10 to 12?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Delete it.
I was 6 when it was released in theaters, and I was 7, maybe 8 when I saw it the first time.
So you saw it right when it came out on VHS, huh?
Yeah. I'm somebody who's something of an insomniac, and so I'm watching Alien at like 5:30 in the morning, having no idea what it is, but very fascinated by this, by the art direction, and why were these people wearing dirty sneakers on a spaceship, and I just kind of fell in love with the whole aesthetic of it.
Well, I think it was pretty genius, and I know Tom knows about this too, is that they intentionally designed the corridors to cut at angles, because the original design of it, there was no place for the alien to hide, so they turned everything into angles. And so you would have to peek around corners and risk exposing yourself to see the monster, and that added that additional element of fear and horror to it. But Shinatsky, how old were you?
I was not born when it came out.
Not even a
And
twinkle in your daddy's eye. Gotcha.
I was an egg in my mom's ovum, or wherever it is in the female anatomy they stay before they get released.
Ovipositor, I'm pretty sure
Well,
that's it.
half of you at least.
Yeah, half of me existed back then. I saw it, I think I was 14 or 15, and I saw it on one of the cables like late at night, not knowing what it was, which I think it's actually the best way to see Alien, because if you have no idea what it's about, it will freak you out, because you just think, oh, this is a neat little sci-fi movie. They're going to have a signal. What the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, we got a video.
Hey, fuck you, Kyle.
Nice.
Kyle, it's here.
He sucks.
So let's get to some of the comments real quick. We've got hey, Emmanuel's
Really?
a new member.
You
Emmanuel's
ask
a new member.
everyone but me.
Yeah, I already know
Yeah,
yours, and
fair.
I'm the only one who cares about when you saw it.
Fuck you.
We care.
Yes, we all care. I'm teasing.
Ignore Gary's misogyny.
I wanted to get to you, but I really need to get to this because and then we'll come back to it. We got some good comments out there from people. Connie Cleary was 8 when she saw, or when it came out. Let's see. No, I didn't even exist yet, but you were 9 when you saw it. Let's see. I was 9 when it came out, and I first saw it then. Oh, that's really cool. You were younger than me by 5 years. Let's see. I was 5, Emmanuel says. Born in 82. Hey, you and Anima both. Slightly late, I'm afraid. Watched it at age 17. Do you know how old Anima was when she saw it the first time?
Technically, it wasn't with you, Gary. I was in my 20s.
Oh.
When my back then German boyfriend tricked me into watching it, and I lasted like half an hour. And I was like, "Fuck this!" I'm out.
How old were you?
25.
How old were you?
26.
25, 26. So there you go. I think she's the oldest one to have
He
seen
said
it
it's
first.
not horror. It's science fiction. You're going to like it. It's going to be fun. And it's not like we hadn't watched movies together, so he knew I wasn't into horror. But he was like, "No, this
Right.
is cool. This is awesome. You're going to like it." And I'm like, "Fuck you, dude. No."
That's similar to the my friend who does the Represent This YouTube channel. When he was a kid, he was convinced Alien was like another Star Wars movie, and he threw a fit to his parents.
Little
wanting
does
to
he
see
know
it.
it kind of was.
Well, yeah, that's true. But he threw such a fit that his parents are like, "All right, but you can't turn away for a single second." He said it traumatized him for years. He actually had to go through like a whole therapy thing where people explained to him how the effects worked, so he could kind of get out of that anxiety.
Well, I told you, I
had
closed my
something
eyes to
similar,
that.
although it wasn't nearly as traumatic. But yeah, mine was Gremlins when that came out.
Oh god.
And so like I
You
wouldn't
were born.
sleep.
You were born in 80, right, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gremlins.
So
We're
my
just
mom-
old enough to remember Ghostbusters.
Yeah. That was, I mean, Ghostbusters was fine. Gremlins was the one that really freaked me out. And my mom tried to find like a making of book for Gremlins, but she couldn't. But what she did find was this book down at the library. And it
I remember
Oh,
that
cool.
book.
did the
I
same
do
thing and
too.
saved tons and tons of therapy.
Tom, that's, I don't know if you've checked out the Represent This channel, but he covers Gremlins as well. And I remember going to the theater to see that because the advertising behind that was all like cutesy
Kinda like E.T.,
gizmo. Yeah. And then you get hit with these crazy Gremlins, which
But
at
now
the
it's
time,
one of my favorite movies of all time. So go figure,
Oh.
right? Like, yeah.
brilliant. Yeah. And I even like Gremlins too. Completely different direction.
Oh
but-
yeah, it's a fourth wall breaking movie.
Self-parody.
It's one,
Yeah.
Yeah, self-parody.
But
And-
yeah, I love that one.
I love Tony Randall in there. Tony Randall is the voice
There it
of the
is.
smart
The
Gremlin.
city's so nice they named it twice. Check it out one time, won't you?
By the way,
Streetcar-
I
You
like
can see
heavy
that for
metal
free.
publication of the Alien graphic novel.
Yeah, that's one I haven't got my hands on, and it's real tough
I've had 2 copies of it, and I
to get
love
a
that.
good copy of it because most of them out there are well loved. That's the problem. I mean,
I was searching through my collection as we were starting because I was an avid, and to me, this was the sequel to Aliens. But I do have that one somewhere reprinted from the heavy metal magazine edition. I'll have to dig for it. I've also got my H.R. Giger Alien book. I became an avid Giger collector as a kid. My parents purchasing expensive books for me that I would save my allowance up for, but they didn't realize what was in them. They didn't vet them. So again,
Giger, what a lovable little pervert he is.
He's my favorite artist ever, but that guy was an absolute perverted nut.
Have you ever met him? Have you ever met him?
I've never met him. No.
I met him. I went to his house
in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
My buddy Matt McGuire from the band Guar, he also went there, and it was an experience to ride his personal demon train.
I heard he was a wonderful guy.
Very, very sweet, very polite, soft-spoken man.
When you read his
completely deranged,
he
unhinged,
like right about when he was a teenager, like girls catching him masturbating in class and stuff. I'm like, ugh, like you're one of those kids.
What were you doing in school? No, I have a story from somebody else that happened in school that I'm like, that's the only time I ever heard of something close to that. It's like, why are you doing that at school? No, he's a weird dude. And but he got kind of mentally fucked up when the woman he loved died. And that's when he started going into the dark
psychosexual shit.
Oh, he was doing weird stuff before that.
I was going to say, I think he was doing that. Well, when did he start doing the more? Was that when he started inserting probably more of the human aspects to some of his?
It was the human aspect of it. It's like her death had
that
this
human
massive
meets
impact on
machines,
her.
Meets biological biomechanics. Yeah, it's twisted. But I mean, before we jump too far ahead on the history, I think we need to go back because this movie has a very storied history. It starts with Dark Star. I think is the best place to start.
Dark Star. With Dan O'Bannon.
For those who don't know, Dan O'Bannon wrote that. He's in it. It was directed by John Carpenter as a student film.
And
if you haven't seen it, it is funny as fuck.
It is also
two versions of the film: the college film, and then the one that we saw. Because I've never seen the college film. I've only seen the version that was released because they shot the full film.
There's also Dan O'Bannon was also a very brilliant visual effects artist, which doesn't get talked about a lot. He did the model spaceships for that movie, and he created a trick that I lifted for my movie, The Quantum Terror, the elevator shaft, laying it on its side and turning the camera upside down.
Oh, yeah.
Just little tricks like that are so fun to watch. And Dark Star,
And Bannon is kind of the unsung hero of this movie. Like, everybody loves to give, Ridley Scott and Geiger all the credit for this movie when it really, a lot of the credit goes to Dan O'Bannon. And there's a not so great documentary called Alien, what the hell's it called? Making of Aliens, I think. Because most of it is just...
Yeah, the first half of that is good, and the second half is a bunch of jerk-offs. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. You know what I'm talking about. Because, the stuff I learned from there that I hadn't known before was very sparse, but what it was that how much Dan O'Bannon put into this project and how much Walter Hill was a part of this project until they weren't anymore.
Walter Hill is sort of the hero of the film, in my opinion.
And that's where I've maintained that even if Walter Hill had directed this movie, I think it would have turned out very similar to what we had gotten. And the reason I say that is because Dan O'Bannon had such a strong vision going into this.
Mm-hmm.
And because a great example of this is because he was almost going to direct at one point, and then the studio just wouldn't let him do anything. He was going to bring in Geiger, and they're like, no, fuck that. You can't have vaginas and penises all over the screen. What are you thinking? And everything he tried to do, they'd say,
yet we still got him.
No. And then all of a sudden, as soon as they hired Ridley Scott, though, of course, Ridley's like, yeah, I think Geiger's the guy. They're like, oh, brilliant. Of course he is. So that really got under O'Bannon's skin a little bit, but he also was just happy that somebody was there finally getting the movie to go forward.
And Ridley actually liked Dan O'Bannon, and did.
Oh yeah,
talking
they
with
liked each other.
people.
It was nothing personal. It was just a matter of that really irked him because he tried so hard for years.
You didn't like
to
it
get
when
the
I
movie
said it,
made.
but you liked it when
Yeah.
he said it.
Exactly, yeah. So it was kind of just showing their bias. And I mean, even at that time, Ridley wasn't even that big of a guy yet. I mean, he had The Duel and he had a few other things under his belt.
Mostly
he wasn't-
Duels, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Alien was the movie that kind of really put him on the map. So, like, I mean, he owes just as much to Alien, more so, I would say, than Alien owes to Ridley. And I'm not trying to sit here and shit on Ridley. But, I mean, I think it goes to show that this movie never got a director's cut. And the only time it did was because the studio forced it upon him. And then he went and made the movie worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, that director's cut wasn't very good. And I got to say, yeah, you're absolutely right about O'Bannon. He was the one that ran around the studio because he got it written into his contract that he could be hired on as a consultant. And
Not just consultant. He was the how did he put it? The art director or production art director.
Well, whatever it was, it gave him carte blanche to run around the studio, like getting in everyone's face. And you know, he was involved in the design of the face hugger as well, because Giger had an idea. And the guy they brought on to
that's a great story.
Had a thing, yeah. And they kind of all got together, and that's what kind of it really is an amalgam of all these different talents coming together and working towards a common goal.
Let's get into some of that, okay?
Well, let me just finish this one thing I wanted to say though, which is that Ridley Scott, as brilliant as he is, he likes to rewrite history like it was all him.
Of course.
Yeah,
yeah, and that gets us to Romulus and Covenant and Prometheus and shit, exactly. Yeah,
but one of some of the greatest artists of the time, Ron Cobb, best known really for Conan the Barbarian, is actually the guy who designed the Nostromo, and much of our science, human science stuff, is designed by him, along with the spacesuit, which was designed by Mobius, John Garot. And
there's a little bit of Mobius in here too. Yeah, we forget to bring
Mobius is the vision behind those cool samurai looking space.
Didn't he do the Nostromos and the space, obviously the space suits, but didn't he also do
Ron Cobb and I forget the other artist's name, both he's a famous artist. He was the one that worked on Dune for the spaceships.
The
multicolor is the same guy. He
ended
up leaving. He ended up leaving, and what they ended up doing was they took the amalgamation of two separate ship designs, one by Cobb and the other one from that artist, and they combined them into one to become the Nostromo.
Because I mean, this movie is really kind of the child of a lot of different people and a lot of different things coming together.
That's what makes it so great. When one person tries to overpower it is when it goes wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, it almost became this B movie at one point because Roger Corman was involved at first, and it was just going to be this typical pot boiler dark shot in the dark so you can't see the costume kind of thing. You know, all the movies that he basically came out with after this in the wake of its
well, this is a movie with B movie origins, and that is how everyone was approaching it until Star Wars came out. Because no one wanted to green light this, and then Star Wars came out, and they're like, "We need more sci-fi," and Alien was the only sci-fi they had.
Where Ridley Scott and James Cameron as well also saw Star Wars and like, "Shit, the son of a bitch beat us to it."
Right.
And what they meant is they didn't mean so much the special effects aspect, but they meant the lived-in universe. Because that was one thing I remember, like Ridley in an early on interview where he's talking about how 2001 changed his world, and that's. You know, really, you can tell the two influences mainly on this movie from everybody's point of view is clearly 2001 and Star Wars, right? And what two things bring those together is that, the how
this room is very 2001.
Well, talk about this right here, Tom, because Mother originally was more like Hal.
Exactly.
And they took the voice away, even though you still hear your mother's voice. Later in the film, the countdown.
But then you get her to say "Mother, you bitch" later. That's the
But Mother ended up being still built based on HAL 9000.
Yes, very much. Yes.
And so you've got this thing. The other extension of HAL is Ash, because Ash is the active HAL.
Yes,
9000.
And then otherwise, it's just that lived-in universe, right? It's the fact that all this stuff barely works. I love that the ship is leaking stuff all the time. you've basically got these truck drivers in space.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
the humidity causes it to rain inside the ship.
yeah, you got
I
stuff all
love
over.
that idea.
They're always griping about this, that, and the other. And I love how the maintenance guys are basically sitting around fucking around with everybody. They could fix it now, but they're just causing
we could
pain
be done
and
in an hour,
disturbance.
but fuck.
Yeah, but they're just being dicks because they want to. You know, like I love that aspect of the film. That in and out gets us through that first hour because it is almost an hour until anything happens in this movie. Like nothing happens for about an hour, and that's the beauty of the film is you can sit there and watch this movie and you're just
being
sucked in by the
into
visuals,
yeah.
and the world feels real, and you're just kind of drawn in by what these guys are doing their mundane everyday thing. They're griping about their pay, they're griping about the job they have to do, they just want to go home, they miss their families, you know, just the little things make it real. And it's those kind of
And
things
they
I feel
use
like
real stuff though too, because like the seats here are actual bomber seats from a B-51 bomber.
yeah, their ship feels
Or
like it's something
B-29
cobbled together from a
B-29
bunch of
bomber.
other shit. Exactly, yeah.
All the equipment they're using is real equipment, so it lights up and does this. Lives and it looks cramped. Is the other thing I like.
One minor thing with it though, the entire beginning, it's not nothing doesn't happen. It's that it gets you to know the crew, so you can give a shit about them before they start getting murdered one by one.
Well, everything about it makes you curious. The opening shots of just going through the hallways and then coming to this door that opens and you can see that the whole place is pressurizing. That's why there's wind blowing around in there, is because there's no oxygen in there until it repressurizes.
But that was also something he did intentionally because he wanted to look like it was a haunted place and that these inanimate objects were alive by showing the projected image of the screen on the faces.
Yeah,
I love the setup for it. It really does give it that haunted house feel.
But it just keeps reeling you in more and more. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
Right? Yeah. No, it just does. I agree. It helps with the claustrophobicness of the ship, and the ship is built in a way like that's what I love about it because like even things like in 2001, what he didn't take from there was the glamorous aspect, right? The aspect that
everything was
feels
clean,
so futuristic and clean, and no, their environment is real shitty. They're like basically, you know, like I said, stuck in this crappy ship that barely works. They don't like
and they're
their
clearly not
jobs.
the first crew to live there.
Exactly. It's a dirty ass ship. It's barely being kept together by tape and spit. Right. You know, and they're just kind of jockeying around through space doing their thing, just trying to get home. And then this happens, right? Like that's kind of the plot. And that's the beauty is all of it's in that second half. But what it is basically all those 1950s sci-fi films updated into this modern era. And what sells this movie is the sincerity and the verisimilitude that it comes at you with the alien by treating it like a biological bug weapon kind of thing. You know what I mean? And this is where I feel like later on we lose that mystery of the simplicity of the monster, right? Just this basically like huge cockroach that got into the system.
Let me add to that as well, because, you know, as they get the signal, like what we're seeing here, and even then, and this is with the director's cut, the one thing that I do really appreciate was they played that creepy sound. All of this formula actually originates back to Dracula. The idea of heading to this environment, you're a stranger in a strange land, you're headed to this environment.
Yeah.
In Dracula, it's this castle, and everything along the way in Jonathan Harker's journal, you're reading it going, you shouldn't, you've got all the signs that you shouldn't be heading towards this place. And the same thing, he gets to the castle, and what does he do? He picks up something that is, you know, it's demonic and supernatural, but it's still alien, and he brings it back with him, or he allows it to get on board to England in that case. And then that same formula is in At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft, which really taps into what's going on here. We essentially have the same thing,
Right.
except instead of Miskatonic archaeologists going to the Antarctic, it's truck drivers who, again, just stumble onto this
Ice
thing.
truckers.
Well,
And that's the beauty. Oh, go ahead.
Especially with the whole opening scene, I love is that it tells you everything you need to know about the characters and their dynamics and relationship without being obvious exposition. Just little things like you're in my seat, or, you know, the fact is that, you know, Parker is, Yaphet Kota's character, Brett's egging him on, all that fun shit. Gone.
And Cameron really learned from that with Aliens as well. Same thing. There's no explaining who the people are. You don't need to know exactly what their jobs are. You just see them doing it and you get it. And again, Cameron really went to school on this. And just, Tom, like you were saying with Dark Star, Dan O'Bannon had Dark Star. James Cameron had, Battle Beyond the Stars and Galaxy of Terror.
Right.
Both movies that were testing grounds for this stuff and really got, really got mastered for these movies.
And that's the beauty of Dark Star, right? This is the actual serious version of that. Like I said, that movie's hilarious because like if you watch it, the whole point of the film isn't so much the alien in that movie, it's the fact that the corporation is completely oblivious to what they're dealing with. And like one of the running gags, not to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, is O'Bannon's character himself isn't even the guy they think he is, right? Like they mistook him for somebody else, and so now he's stuck on this mission. So that's part of the hilarity of it. And then the alien is a part of the story, but the alien is used as a joke more so than anything. But all the moving parts are there. So like you take that, okay, so what if the corporation was that, but they were the evil, greedy ones in this case, right? Like, because, you even see how the workers are talking like, well, do we get a finder's fee for whatever we, pick up?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is they're just worried about that aspect of it to where, the other people like Ripley especially and such are like kind of more starting to go with the idea of, okay, wait a minute here. Something don't smell right. What is the corporation up to here, right? So that you get that sense of it in this movie as opposed to Dark Star, where it's more or less, it's a corporate fuck up.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines in Alien it's more of an incidental line, but it really shows the attitude of the characters is just Ripley asking Dallas, since when is that standard procedure? And he just says, standard procedure is whatever the hell they tell you to do.
Yeah. I need to punch in here real quick. We've got Penny is here. Andy Masterson, Awesome One, JPRPH1, TJ Basham, Soul Assassin, and Read by Nature. And we got some good comments here. One I got was Penny. She says, some of you might have heard this story. I was pregnant with Danny when this hit theaters. When the alien jumped out of the egg and landed on the guy's face, Daniel kicked at the same time.
One of the greatest reverse shots in history. Yeah.
There you go.
I love we haven't even really talked about the music. I know you mentioned it, Christopher, but the music in here, this is like basically Jerry Goldsmith doing what Hans Zimmer does now, only better. Right.
This is where I try to Hans Zimmer.
I know, me neither. And this is where I'm like, he's so pretentious and he thinks he's doing something special. It's like, no, Jerry Goldsmith did it before you way back with Aliens. And it actually sounds better.
Was a master at creating a theme. Yeah.
And this was so different than anything. Well, there is no real theme here. The only theme you really have in Aliens is, I guess, Ripley's theme.
Is the
right,
horn.
Which is that little melody you get,
which was used in Aliens, and it's one thing. It's
because otherwise it is just a straightforward kind of like more or less this atmospheric noise. He almost went like the opposite way of Alien, because you guys are right. Like part of this movie is Dracula, Christopher. I'm glad you brought that up. The other half is basically Ridley just saying, yeah, we're just ripping off Halloween, right?
Or Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? Like the basic slasher.
That was a huge inspiration for this film.
But instead of going with like the John Carpenter theme type thing, they went with this alien, like literal alien like sounding theme. And it's like, that's what I've said before. Hans Zimmer, guess what? No, you didn't invent anything. We've already gotten this before a couple times. Yeah.
I with Jerry Goldsmith, actually, he was a little put off because they tempt some of this movie with his music from another movie called Freud. And they liked it so much that they actually, some of the music is from the movie Freud. It's the same music, but I absolutely to this day get chills, when the credits roll and they really go into Jerry Goldsmith's music for that movie. It's a beautiful piece, and I can listen to it again and again. And I'm so glad that we agree on Hans Zimmer, because I really feel like
I've always hated Hans Zimmer, and Lord knows I've lost friendships over it. I'm serious. I have people that stop talking to me because they go, "Hey, let's listen to," and I'm like, I don't fucking want to listen to droning music.
No.
You want me to take it a step further and really alienate some people? No pun intended.
Well, not yet.
Finally,
let's stick to this because I paused this for a reason, and I don't want to pause for long. This scene is so great to me because you get so many interesting things with Ash throughout this film. One, he's always drinking milk. When you see him drinking, he's drinking milk. And two, this scene I love because he does this jog in place moment to, I don't know what that's for, because he doesn't have blood. But it
could be interpreted two different ways, whether as foreshadowing or, if you're not paying attention, you could think to yourself, oh, he's just, he's cramped in his seat. He's just kind of running in place.
That's not what I interpreted is what happens later, because he is like bundled fucking energy trapped in this, English body that he has to always stay calm. But in reality, he is wound up on the inside. And that's what this jog is for, because he knows, just to give it away to everybody, if you haven't seen this movie, it's your problem. He knows about this. He knows exactly what's happening. He's been in contact with Mother. He's probably never not in contact with Mother, I suspect. And that's something they do in the new film, too, is they show that the connection of the neural network with the androids. So this guy... when he did this little jog, I thought, what a queer thing to do. Right when I first saw it, he's 15.
It feels off because of it is it's him. He's getting ready to pretend to be human because, in essence, he can't be on all the time with faking being a person. It's my interpretation. I gotta get ready. I gotta get back.
That's the way I always get
ready. Yes, I see it that way.
That way at all.
Tom, honestly, what were you gonna say? It's one of the scenes I would have took out. I mean, it feels like it's only there to trick the audience. Yeah, it feels like it's only there to trick the audience into thinking he's human until we find out he's human.
I thought he was.
I didn't see it as because I know what they're trying.
Yeah, on reinterpretation, I don't know how to take it. Yeah,
so he's trying to run in place to warm up, and I never took it that way.
I mean, is it? Well, they are okay. I guess looking at it from a certain point of view, are they not kind of biomechanics themselves in a way? I mean, that's.
Yeah,
that could be true that he just has to move around, or just like with a human,
the circuitry and kind of like different elements that might be semi or simulated organic, maybe 3D print. I don't know.
See, because I always wondered about the milk thing. I always wondered after the fact. I'm like, oh, okay, so is he actually drinking milk at those points, or was that just whatever that liquid is that he?
I think it was that liquid,
and it just looks like milk, so that everybody thinks he's drinking milk, but it's actually like whatever they use to power themselves. Yeah.
I want to jump to these images because these ship images, especially like the cockpit is, with the way they show the exterior outside the window. And then one of the really great tricks that Ridley Scott did, which I do appreciate about his directing, was to make, they could only build things so big in the studio. So to make them look bigger, he put kids in the spacesuits.
His children. Those are the Scott kids.
And one of them's a producer's kid as well. But yeah, they put kids.
That's stuff they used to do all the time is through forced perspective and other things like that instead of having to do it. Now they would just do
it's
CGI,
genius.
But
because it really did make, like, when they're right outside the giant vagina, it looks so fucking gigantic because it's little kids in suits. And then they did the same thing with the pilot or the navigator, because the first shot to that is these little kids. It is a vagina. It's a gigantic.
It's not that part. It's just putting something miniature next to it to make it look bigger. That's what was making me laugh. You leave the door open for these things, Gerry.
Yeah, that's the great thing about having a small penis. I'm just telling you, make the vagina look bigger.
But hey, Oos is in the house.
Joe's here.
Yeah, but these set moments are absolutely brilliant, and they did some crazy stuff to create that atmosphere. They had like particles in the air; they were blowing through large fans. The smoke that they were blowing through
incense. He used that special incense to smoke the place up.
Well, no, he used incense for the close quarter stuff. For these big sets, they actually had to use a diesel derivative oil.
Oh.
Yeah, not good to breathe. But you know, back then they didn't regulate it as much. Same with the by the way, when acid burns, you get that alien smoke. That is illegal here in the States as well. It's called AB smoke. It's this chemical combination that smokes up, but it's really bad to breathe as well. But yeah, just brilliant, you know, getting into the, again, Prometheus and Covenant are complete garbage because they trade what the potential of the mystery built here is for something completely mediocre. And you know, Ridley Scott.
This is a B movie. They admitted to it. It's in all the documentaries. This is a B movie that got a burst of energy to make it an A movie.
Elevated to an A movie. Yeah. Have you ever seen Planet of the Vampires?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's
pretty much every film that inspired this.
Yeah. I was going to say Planet of the Vampires, they acknowledged it so much that they pretty much ripped off those uniforms and put them in Prometheus. It's the same uniforms. But
that space helmet. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I hate that space helmet.
If you watch, by the way, if you watch Alien versus Predator and Prometheus back to back, you realize they're structured the exact same. They're the same movie, which is really ironic because Ridley Scott was like, "Oh, Alien versus Predator, that's so stupid." You know, it's like, well, you remade it.
What you did, yeah. Look what you did.
But these
stupid, and then turned around and did Covenant, right?
But these, I mean, for me, these moments that we're watching are really what set Alien apart from everything else. Was this idea again of using Giger's design, and the idea was that they were going to use Ron Cobb to design the human futurist stuff, and Giger to do everything alien, including the landscapes, to really contrast the two. And you know, this space jockey pilot is just, I remember the first time I saw this, and the fact that the camera cranes up and gives you such a sense of that this ship, and this is something that really doesn't get noted a lot, but this is a non-Euclidean ship. It is larger on the inside than it is on the outside.
It's on the outside.
And I love that. And it's never spoken, but you can feel it, especially when they go down into the egg cavern, which is, you know, much bigger. Yeah.
And by the way, I want to point out that a lot of this stuff was designed by Giger, but like with the face hugger, he designed the original stuff for that. And they got another artist to come in to sculpt it and build it. And because they were having problems because Giger's design didn't fit, it didn't work, but they loved the idea of it. And then they brought this other artist in, insult and injury to Giger, to sculpt it. But then they had to bring Giger in to finish it.
Yeah, they sent him home. Yeah.
They sent him home, and then they brought him back to finish the face hugger to make it work and look right. And he did this clever thing of creating this, each finger is a separate finger that can be detached and put back on this face hugger. It was really brilliant how he pulled that off in the 70s, man.
Well, you know, a lot of those effects artists weren't slouches even then. And, you know, a lot of what we see now are just refined technology and people kind of standing on the shoulders of those giants. By the way, if you get I've had this since I was a teenager. And it's a brilliant book, and it has all the different designs inside of it. And it's got a lot of photos of when they were building stuff on set. So it's definitely a must-have if you're obsessed with this movie as I am. This movie is, you know, it's like everything that I do in my movies is stuff that I learned by watching behind the scenes. And Tom, you mentioned that one, Memory. That one's not a very good one. The Alien Quadrilogy DVD set has 3.5-hour documentaries for each movie, which are on YouTube as well. You can find them on there. Aliens Expanded just came out. But there's all sorts of different shows. And there are a lot of great YouTube videos that do great research on the making of these movies. So if you want to become the biggest alien nerd expert, there's so much material out there. I never get tired of it. For me, it's film school. I mean, this movie is film school.
Yeah. By the way, I have to run a video real quick because we have a friend that just popped in.
By what name are you known?
There are some who call me... No, now go away or I shall taunt you a second time.
There you go. Yes, there was in the director's cut. You do get to see a little more of what's going on with Kane, but I don't think it was essential. It's not essential storytelling to show that
the stuff that he cuts out does not make it worth it. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's just
there's
not
a
worth
couple
it
of
to
bits
me,
that
exactly.
that should be there that you need.
Yeah, the whole line about, you know, have you ever gone on a mission with Kane before, or not with Kane, with Ash before?
Ash.
And they say, oh, they replaced him 2 days before we shipped out. I mean, that's such an interesting piece of information, and why cut that out? And also what he added in, and Ridley Scott has even said that he didn't really think that it needed another cut. It's just the studio said, hey, we're doing the special edition. Can you give us something with more material? And they cut out, or they put in the discovery of the alien hive on the ship, which I actually think is better without it because it really breaks the pacing. Yeah, the only thing that I find a little bit of interest is when they actually play the audio of the signal, which even then Ridley Scott kept changing for subsequent editions of the film. So it's like, you know, what are we doing? I don't know.
But we can't take man's word that he always had this elaborate plan about how it would cross over with Blade Runner, a movie he hadn't directed yet.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm sure in his mind it's loosely connected, and that's fine. But, you know, let the connections be in people's imagination. Don't keep trying to force I mean, this isn't what art is. Art is when you make a connection with the audience, and then the audience gets to see how it applies to their imagination. You know, the more you try and explain to people, the less interesting it becomes, and the less interesting you reveal yourself to be, quite frankly. But
now, one thing that's also known with this film, I want to throw this in here because this is one of my favorite shots in the film, because this is actually also the same room that they woke up in, and they refurbished rooms. They would use it. Then when they were done shooting all scenes in that, they would alter certain things in there, and it's the same room.
I love that.
I love the little Czech cereal thing on the door. And what it is Ron Cobb went about designing, they're like flags and they're stickers all over the ship that are language without words to tell you what something is. And I can't remember what that is. It just means a door because it's got the X shape to it. So it do not breach.
Yeah, there was all sorts of fun stuff like no gravity behind this door.
Yeah, just everything. Cobb put so much thought into the designs of this spaceship, and nobody really appreciates just how good a production designer he was.
Oh, I think there are the people who pay attention to that stuff do, but
yeah, only those few. These are the guys that I think should be lauded and you know, held up high as the guys that do shit like this.
It's one of those jobs where the better you do, the less people pay attention to it because it just fits.
This was a great reveal, by the way. The idea that now, first of all, you know, I always assumed that their helmets were plexi because acid actually won't melt through glass. But I just love that it melted through his helmet and then it slipped in. You know, it managed to scrunch itself in and then slip in. And TJ, who's a marketer, the marketing for this film. I don't remember much about the marketing for this film, but you can go and find YouTube commercials or YouTube videos of the old teasers and stuff for it. I think they literally put the marketers, I think they put an egg, like a kind of a bumpy brown egg on top of a brownie and shot it in low light for the original images, if I recall.
It works.
Yeah,
it works. And they use something similar in the commercial, which was a bumpy egg. It's got it's not smooth. It's got shape to it.
Is that what bumpy means?
and then it's got a webbed-looking thing beneath it that looks like human bodies.
Basically, what the movie poster looks like.
Yeah.
It is the movie poster. But the best part of that commercial, and it scared the shit out of me because I was still 14 when that first trailer came out, and that fucking when that egg cracks and the light comes through, oh my god, that just fucking had me going. I wanted to point this out. That's why I paused. That Ridley Scott personally went in while they were building these sets, and it would cause delays every time he did this. He wanted more claustrophobic feel, lower the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
To a certain point that even the shortest actor had to duck sometimes through some of these gates in the film.
It makes sense for, a build in space as well. You think that if you're in a spaceship, your space is at an economy, or not as at a premium. Sorry, is what I meant to say. But yeah, it works, and it visually it works as well. Not just for claustrophobia, but for framing your shots. You've got a lot to juxtapose against. And I love the idea that they're all kind of on the outside looking in. Sort of like an operating theater. And that face hugger, by the way, is just unpainted latex. I think they did a few things to tint it.
It was all latex, and they decided that it looked good that way. And so
they're originally going to make it green. Yeah.
This latex has a weird look to it when you use raw latex.
Yeah.
It looks like skin.
And the thicker it gets and the older it gets too, it kind of it goes from like a fleshy color to like a, I don't know, like an amber pretty quick as it dries and gets old.
Now, do you recognize those things above Ash's head there? Those are inverted speakers.
Oh, are they? Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Nice.
Oh, sorry. I was looking right above the ceiling, like in the center of the frame. Not
right above his head.
That
CJ is here.
Hello, CJ with Action Grip. So
they do something smart with having it where Ash is the traitor with it, because basically there's characters that say what they should do. Like Yaphet Kotto's like, shouldn't we just freeze them? And it doesn't happen because Ash is sabotaging them the entire time. It allows the characters to be smart.
All the logical things they should do aren't going to happen because they have a saboteur.
And they're listening to the experts. The scene where they try to cut it off. I just shared not too long ago a video from Alec Gillis, who worked on Aliens and on through. Just the idea of taking acetone and tinting it yellow and then dropping it on styrofoam. And that's how they accomplish the acid burning through the floor effect. If you look very close, if you pause the shot, you can see there's a piece of metal off to the side where a few drops got on and it's not burning. And what Alec did when he worked on Alien Resurrection, which don't hold it against him, he's really an okay guy. They took metal powder, I'm assuming aluminum, and they brushed it over the styrofoam. So when the acetone hit the styrofoam and it bubbled and melted, it mixed with the metal powder and created a metallic sizzling look. Yeah, you can see there. That's just acid. And they put something else underneath it to make it look like there was...
Is that styrofoam?
That is styrofoam. All you got, it's just the way it's lit. And if you look at it really fast and you're just an audience member, you're not going to think about it. You're involved.
Yeah, but if you pause it like most of us nerds do, you can actually see the little kernels of styrofoam.
Yeah, you can. But there's the power of editing right there. You cut something together in just the right way, and it just brings the audience in. Now, here, I'm not sure how they did it. I think this is probably a series of cuts, and they got little liquids that sizzled around it to make it look like it was melting more. But, and there's that AB smoke that they put on the end of the pen. I like that when he's got the melted pen and he hands it back to...
Then he tries to hand it back to him. He's like, I don't want that. By the way, the editor for this film, the main editor is Terry Rawlings, who's a great film editor.
Wasn't there Ray Lovejoy, or was that Aliens?
Oh, you had Peter Peter Weatherly. Peter Weatherly and David Crowther and Terry Rawlings were the editors for this film. I think I'm saying that guy's name right. Peter Weatherly. Nobody's going to help me. Okay, fuck you guys.
Again, great atmospheric moments. You know, they're just down on that planet, nervously trying to fix everything.
Yeah, there was a parody film that came out in the 80s. I don't know if you guys knew about it, Tom. You might. The Creature Wasn't Nice.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen that one.
It's got the guy that played Sneed in the Avengers. Patrick McNee is the scientist. Cindy Williams is in it.
There's so many knockoffs and parodies of this.
Well, this one's a really low budget parody. It's very low budget. And I enjoyed the crap out of it because it was more or less making fun of sci-fi B movies in the 50s. More than doing this, but it clearly was inspired by some of the stuff with Alien. Did you guys go to the theater to see the film? Yes, I did.
I unfortunately was too young to see it in the theater. Alien 3 was the first Alien movie that I saw in the theater, and it was also the first time I thought was like, oh, wait a minute, sequels can be terrible. And by the way, just a quick thing. I know I've said this many, many times before, and on my own videos, on my own YouTube channels. Alien 3 really is the kind of the patient zero for the reverse expectations thing that started to get going. I really blame the 90s for all of our problems, actually. But it's I
just remember the huge outcry from the fandom of what they did, that they killed Hicks and Newt.
Well, you know what that was ultimately? I know that was event. There were other ways to go about doing it that were discussed, but ultimately it was, as much as I love Sigourney Weaver, it was her not wanting anybody else to become someone's center stage in the franchise aside from her. She's very
how'd that work out for the franchise,
right? Yeah, she's just very protective of that role, and I've heard a lot of kind of behind the scenes stories of her behavior on Alien 3 and Alien
that
Resurrection.
Whole movie kind of was a cock tease for a different movie. We didn't get anybody. So I brought this up the other day. I don't know how many people remember the teaser trailer we got for Alien 3 that kind of lied to us, or at least misled us.
Yeah,
I
remember
tagline
everyone
was,
can hear you scream.
In space, no one can hear you scream, but on Earth, in 1992, everyone will hear you scream. Then you get Alien 3. Yeah.
I remember finding that teaser on a Blockbuster video I rented. I can't remember the movie, but I was so jazzed because I was a big fan even then. I went over to my friend's house and I was like, you got to watch this. And we were freaking out. Now, even then I was like, how's it going to work on Earth? It's not, it's like, I don't know. Then it turns into almost like, just people running through the streets screaming as aliens do their thing. But,
I watched that.
I thought to myself, all they had to do for Alien 3, if they wanted, they already had the set built and all that, is just have her land on the planet, go, where are the others? And they're just saying, what are you talking about? You're the only one. And just leave it a mystery, like what happened to the rest of the crew? How did she get there? And then from there, the studios can do what they want.
Their stupidity was not just letting them go home and then you let Newt grow up and Hicks move on and do whatever. And then that way you just set the story up that there's like this other planet that they lost contact with and they had similar reports. And of course, who's the authority on this shit? Ripley. I get it. It's kind of reminiscent of Alien 2, but
have you read
what else
these?
Can you do at that point? No, I haven't, but I'm assuming it's similar to that. Yeah.
That's what it is. This is Newt. They don't know where Ripley is, but it's Newt as in her 20s and Hicks is like her caretaker.
Which was Blomkamp's idea to do two films that would kind of retell that story and then lead to them finding Ripley for the next film.
But this is the thing, though. Films. Yeah, Blomkamp's. Everything I got from that is that it was going to be terrible as well. It's essentially
all of them sound terrible.
Yeah, all the iterations of Alien 3 that were proposed sounded terrible. It's just this is the mystery and the ideas that made these movies, Alien and Aliens, great, needed to just rest there. But if you're going to go off in different directions, it becomes more like comic books or more like just, know, grindhouse style movies. There's nowhere to go with it.
My opinion was there was really only one way to go with it, and they still haven't. And that was the way the animated series was going to go, and the toys went. And that was the hybrid stuff from part 3, right? Like, that's where I said, like, yes, put them on Earth or some other planet where, they're hybriding or, mutating with all these other creatures. Cause that was the part that I found was intriguing. I don't care about their past, right?
Yeah.
Like I get enough from this movie to realize that whoever the space jockey was and whoever the engineers were, they made this biological weapon. It got away from them. It killed them all. Like, I don't need this backstory about them trying to go after Earth to begin with and this gay robot making them the aliens that we know they are today. Like, I don't need any of that.
We killed Jesus, Tom, and we have to pay.
It's redonkulous as fuck. Like, I like the idea that they're this biological weapon that can basically combine DNA with anything that's living, right, to adapt to a planet. That is cool, and they never really played with that much outside of part 3. And if anything, that was the good aspect of part 3 that they carried over into the toys. And that's what I liked was, you got the rhino alien and the bull alien and this alien and that alien. Like, that is kind of cool. You can do that kind of a thing with that. I don't see a problem with that.
I see a problem with it only in the fact that it could be cool or it could be done wrong and be very goofy.
Yeah, but we got like Alien Resurrection. That to me was worse. Like, what else? How much worse can it get than that when you get the hybrid human alien baby thing?
Alien
they already are
Resurrection,
alien hybrid human.
Resurrection was definitely the most egregious and ridiculousness, but I'll just say this, and then we'll go on to this face hugger scene here, which is really cool. But is to me,
why
what
did
made
you have to pause it there? Why?
Because I wanted to say
like
something, and we start talking. I wanted to explain that this was kind of cool what they did here, because in order to get this to look cool and gross, they actually like boiled like oysters and shit like that.
Oh no, they were raw.
Steam. No,
they were steamed. They were steamed. Yeah, that's right.
They were steamed. They were steamed. So
I'm on the seafood
after
diet.
a while, they would really begin to smell bad. But this was actually organic material used to make this look believable. It wasn't prosthetic or rubber. The suit is, or the alien face hugger is rubber, but everything inside the scoop area is organic, and it made it more believable. That thing you see him lift up is an oyster.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was watching it with my dad as a kid, my dad's a big time fisherman at the time, and he recognized what it was right away, and it kind of took me out of the movie because he pointed it out. But I thought, again, for the effect that it had, it was absolutely brilliant. I also wonder what that device he was poking at it with was, though. It didn't seem like it was in it. Go ahead.
It looks like a pipette that's been put on a grip, is all it looks like. One of those rubber pipettes.
It's I always got the sense that he didn't grab it because it was the instrument to use. I think he just grabbed it because it was the closest thing at hand, which are those little touches that really ground everything that we have in that wonderful word that Tom used, verisimilitude.
Well, verisimilitude is something, I don't know if people are even aware what it means. It's bringing out the truth of the story. It's something that was, I found out about that word because of Superman, the motion picture. I'd never heard that word before until I'd seen that film and heard that that was the word that he made that film with, was verisimilitude. And then later we would see the sign in the documentary, The Making of Superman, verisimilitude. And I'm like, what a cool word. What does that mean? My dad was the one who told me what it meant. And I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. So,
but it's not just like bringing out like the big truths. It's all those little relatable things that make everything
that make it real.
Yeah, more
it
real.
It makes it real, more believable. And this film is just chock full of realities, little tiny pockets of reality that everybody can identify with, from even their shittiest jobs, the bureaucracy. And that's something that sort of, I felt they should have gone towards less intelligent and malevolent and more bureaucratic with the interest in the alien.
Well, I mean, a lot of that is kind of just in the background of like messages that are coming from God knows where. Again, that verisimilitude comes from, like the moment again when Ripley and Dallas are arguing and he tries to walk away from her and she's like, "Will you just?" And she like hits the door and it closes and he's just like, "Ugh," like you can see stuff like that happening in real life. And that's, or them just sitting around like this, digging at a little, what has he got? Like a Chinese takeaway box. But
And
while
see-
Brett is over there rolling a cigarette.
yeah, exactly.
We think it's a cigarette.
Right.
and Lambert being just, like that, like if you're working with a group of employees, there's always that one who's like, just so unhappy to be there and is making it known, even though it's like everyone else is dealing with the same shit. And she just comes in and goes like, how about something to lower your spirits? Dallas, thrill me, will you? Just like these very, like everyone's just had enough and wants to get back into bed and go home. And this, I remember this horrible dream about smothering. Anyway, where are we?
I don't think there's anything good about the origin of the Xenos. Now, who sent them? Who's actually responsible for Lutani? And what Lutani doesn't know is the Splinter faction.
By the way,
That's
the
stuff I
company's
wanting to
name
know
was
about.
different in Alien than it is later.
Yeah, Utani was a merger that happened after this. Bit of nerd knowledge.
It was in this film. It was Wayland, not Wayland.
Yeah.
Utani.
Yeah.
And it's something he would kind of do again with Blade Runner. There was a company in that film. This commercial was brought to you by the Shimato Dominguez Corporation.
Well,
the Shimato.
What you guys are kind of hinting at there is one of the main issues I have with Prometheus, Covenant, and probably Romulus, even though I haven't seen it yet. I've heard enough to kind of get an idea that this is where you're boxing yourself in, you're making your universe smaller. I mean, like or hate my idea from before, the one thing my idea didn't rely on was all the other sequels and stuff to build upon. You don't need a Ripley, you don't need any of that other shit. Like, this is another one of those franchises like Star Wars and Terminator and Star Trek and stuff like that, which constantly make this mistake of trying to put a movie before, after, in between other things that already existed and build upon them in a way that does nothing more than demystify and or ruin, in most cases, what came before. And I'm just so sick and tired of it. Get to the future. Move beyond this stuff. I don't need a Star Trek series that takes place at the same time as, the original series, right? Or TNG. Move out of that era. Go to the future.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that sometimes these ideas just kind of burn out, whether they have certain characters or certain events or not. But I mean, there's so many Star Trek and there's so many.
Because my issue with Aliens is that now with Prometheus and Covenant and Romulus as well, from what I'm hearing, is it really kind of ruins my interpretation of what Aliens was all about. Because Burke, I don't believe they knew exactly what the alien was yet. I agree. See, and that's where part of his motivation is to go clean up the company's mess. The other half is to procure one of these things so they can somehow profit off it and makes their money off this financial disaster. Because that's what a lot of people are like, oh no, he did it on purpose. Like, are you kidding me? Their whole thing is they have like billions of dollars worth of equipment out there and a whole dead colony because of this mess. So he's going out to clean this all up. Like, this is like if Amazon decided to put a fucking a factory on a planet somewhere, like or on the moon, and all the people just ended up dying, and now they're going to have to figure out how they're going to explain that to everybody.
You're exactly right. And this comes from people who think that, that this whole thing about like, oh, it's a critique on capitalism. It's like, no, a corporation is not going to want to throw away an entire colony of people. My interpretation was Burke did this. Burke's trying to CYA,
cover his own mess up, yeah,
and also see how he can profit, but he's not going directly off company orders. It's more of a someone trying to climb the corporate ladder, and And by the way, for me, what makes Aliens so good doesn't have anything to do with the creature's life cycle or anything like that. It's that, to me, it's the perfect response to the first movie, in the sense of, I see Alien as a movie about, yes, they're truckers, but it's in a time where we're pioneers in space, and any pioneering comes with a lot of danger, a lot of unknown factors.
It does, but I also see the company as kind of like, with their obsession with getting the alien, is kind of like, the idea of the, you know, it used to be the nuclear analogy, but now at this time, when this movie came out, I think it really was speaking more to the biological warfare analogy, which we were on the, you know, which was on the horizon. I mean, look where we're at right now, for instance.
Well, yeah,
Right.
but my point is that it's
Yeah.
more of like, on a personal level for Ripley, she's like a pioneer who, she went out there, you know, she got, I don't know, ambushed by Indians and everyone was killed or something like that. But mankind continues to push into the pioneer and find ways to learn from these tragedies and come back kind of with a vengeance. And it, you know, the analogy, what James Cameron, you know, people know this, but James Cameron also co-wrote with Stallone Rambo 2, where it was a very similar theme, and they were working on those scripts at the same time. So it's very much, you know, a redemption of, she lost her daughter, which I thought was a wonderful kind of way to motivate the character. And then, you know, the entire structure of Aliens is based around Ripley as a character at the beginning going, I'm not going back there, I'll die, to the final act where she says, I'm going into the belly, into the labyrinth, and I don't care if I die. I need to go, and, you know, she learns to overcome her fear, to put someone else ahead of herself. And to me, as a writer, that's a great character evolution. It makes complete sense. And that's where I think Aliens really hits for me. And from there, there's really nowhere else to go, unless, like you said, you create new characters, you put it in another part of the universe. But Sigourney Weaver wasn't going to have that. You know, that's really where
not at that point.
So,
and I mean, if a
Alien
character's still
Horizon,
alive, there's no
basically.
reason to.
Yeah, but there's you know, that movie, that was really the perfect, Aliens was the perfect wrap up. And you know, for some people, like, I know Razor Fist only thinks there's one Alien movie and it's Alien. And honestly, I'm not one of these people that, if a movie sucks, a sequel sucks, it doesn't ruin the rest for me, because I know I've always got that movie, and I can, in my own head canon, I can say, yeah, that's where it ended. So I'm not going to begrudge anybody. I'm not even going to begrudge people for Alien 3, which I've personally had so many problems with that I made like 9 or 10 YouTube videos about it. But it wasn't to bash it and say you shouldn't like Alien 3, you should ignore Alien 3. It was just,
you don't suffer from OCD at all.
OCD?
You made how many videos about that?
I was gonna say, I think it was a joke, but yeah.
Yeah, well,
it is
the reason I made those videos was this. I made a series critiquing it, saying, like, you know, structurally, here's why there are problems with it. It was beyond, it went far beyond, you know, I'm mad that they killed off Hicks and Newt. I talk about the structure, what they could have done differently. There's parts of it that I defend. I do a whole thing on the rod puppet, which everyone thought was bad CGI. It wasn't bad CGI. It was really actually the height of chemical compositing before digital took over. You know, I love that rod puppet. I think it's fantastic. It's just unfortunate that it was just the wrong kind of effect for that kind of mood in the movie. And when you look at that rod puppet and the way it was composited in, compared to what we're seeing on the screen now, where they, you know, shot in shadow and had the rain and the texture and the atmosphere.
Well, and it was a year away from Jurassic Park. That's the other thing too. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that was the other problem. But and just, I don't know if you saw it, Tom, but I did get the toys. I think this is the Scorpion alien here.
Yeah, there you go. See what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that's some cool shit. We never got.
Look at that.
I didn't need no human alien hybrid when that's already what the xenomorph is. I was like,
I know,
wait
it
a
doesn't
minute,
make sense, right?
That's stupid. And yeah, and I mean, I guess my point was, where I was coming from was the hubris of the company was what I always what I always interpreted was going on with Aliens, more so, because like now you get all these prequels and midquels and stuff like that. It's just adding and adding, and it's like, at this point, the company must know every darn thing there is to know about these things. Like, I mean, Dave basically created them, so I mean, like,
Yeah, and it's yeah.
And he didn't create them, I know, before somebody jumps on, but he did manipulate them to the point where they're the xenomorphs we get now. That's kind of what they're showing in Covenant. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just gonna say, no, you're right. It just gets too muddy, and new ideas start to step on things that were cooler to begin with. But again, it's like man, we talk about Alien Resurrection. That and there are great videos on Represent This. Again, I love that channel so much, about Alien Resurrection, and like the director hated Americans, and he was like wanted to, like, he admitted he was taking pleasure in stepping all over this franchise. And the Newborn came about because Alec Gillis, who I used to work for at Studio ADI, and his partner Tom Woodhouse Jr. were going over all these different designs. And I think it was, I'm blocking on the guy, he did that Rubber Johnny video, but he used to work for them. Chris Cunningham, I think it was, did a joke illustration of an alien with like a pot belly. He just drew it as a joke, but the director saw it like laying there, and he's like, oh, that's it. Yeah, do that. And everyone's like, are you serious? But he was the director. And Sigourney Weaver, who like is weird and egomaniacal and artsy fartsy. I've heard she's really nice in real life, but she's full of herself. Let's admit it. During Alien 3, there were no guns because she was a big
I picture she's a lot like Dana Barrett in real life.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But it just,
that's
like,
probably the character that's closest to her in real life.
But all of these egos in the way. And again, it's like everybody, the talents that really created this wonderful movie were moved in on by all these people who did make it better. Sigourney Weaver's performance made it better. Ridley Scott's directing made it better. But then after the fact, all these people feel this intense ownership over this, but they're not really the ones that originated it.
And I think she kind of, like, going off of what we talk about now with more modern films and the girl boss element, right? Because we will usually hold Ripley up as a good example of what we say is a strong female character, but not a girl boss. The problem you have is by the time you get to 3 and beyond that, you start seeing this girl bossness creep in. And I think that comes from Sigourney. You're right, 100% Sigourney thinking she is the franchise without getting out of the way. Like, even when they were trying to set up Winona Ryder, she couldn't even get out of the way, right? It's like, okay, they are trying, and regardless of how you feel about Alien Resurrection, again, it's another film where it has a lot of interesting ideas. It had a potential to go somewhere, and they completely blew it in the execution. And one of the biggest problems there is the Ripley clone. You don't need it. It shouldn't be there. It's asinine and stupid. I was fine with them kind of bringing in, Winona Ryder to kind of replace her as the de facto femme fatale in the show. And what was interesting is that she was an android, right? Like, spoilers, kids, if you didn't see it. So we had our first, what would have been main character, who's actually an android, right? So, like, that took it to the next level too. And I thought that was an interesting story. And then with all the experiments, that's where I was thinking, okay, we're going to get to where they're going to finally do these hybrids. Oh no, the hybrid we get is this stupid baby. But like, no, you're 100% right. Like, this franchise is,
which, by the way, I want to point out,
the simplicity of it is what I was getting to begin with. It's like, yeah, we don't need all this backstory on the alien. We don't need anything more than what we get out of the life cycle that we know in the first film and the second film, which that's one of those rare times where you have Cameron adding to the lore that actually builds upon it and doesn't take away from what was there before, and it actually makes sense because, well, where would you get all these eggs from? Obviously, you're going to have a queen, and they are more of like a drone because it goes along with them being a biological bug type thing, right? Like, and that's what they are. And I mean, we totally jumped over the face hugger element too. That story is amazing. So I'll tell that story in just a second, but I know you wanted to say something real quick there, Gerry.
No, I just wanted to add that's the connection again in this film, because the third act, that's basically Alien Resurrection, the baby.
Oh, you're talking about Romulus?
Yeah.
But Tom, have you got the spoilers for that? Or
I have gotten enough that I know that I'm probably not going to like it when I see it, because I don't
want to say any more than that.
And Covenant, and there's enough to ties in with that's enough for me to know. Nope, I'm done.
Yeah, because I don't want to do spoilers for anybody watching that hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah, because I don't want to go any further than that. But I'm just telling you that third act is Alien Resurrection. So we have a poll going right now in the chat. right now. It's doing pretty good. 64% say that the person who technically owned Jones the cat in Alien was Ripley. 9% are Kane, and 27% are Brett.
I thought
And
it
they are
was
all
Dallas.
wrong. They are all wrong because nobody owns a cat. The cat owns them all.
Yeah.
Well
That's
done.
why I use the word technically. Thank you. I was very careful in my wording.
If you look
The
at
person
Ripley's
who took care of the cat, the
if you
person
look
who
at
actually
Ripley's
took care of it.
if you look at Ripley's control station, there is a Polaroid picture of Jones as a kitten on it.
Yep.
Oh, I never noticed that.
But it
I
was the
guess that-
ship. It is the ship's cat.
Well, I suppose each
But
ship
I'm-
could probably have a cat to help with the rodent problem, because eventually you're going to get
Yeah. Anything
One of the
like
early
no
drafts.
way of avoiding it. You're probably leaving Earth with a rodent problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
But according to all the writing, and it's also in the documentaries, the person I'll go ahead and end the poll now. It's 58% Ripley, 17 Kane, and 25% Brett. And the answer is Brett,
Really?
which
Okay.
is why he goes after the cat.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, now the story with the face hugger is very interesting, actually. And that's one of the few stories that's in that Alien memory documentary that I thought was kind of funny. Is because O'Bannon was just racking his brain. He was stuck on how the fuck do I get this alien on the ship? Because as Ripley points out, it's her job to say, no, you can't bring that goddamn thing on the ship. But the closest way they could get to it was by ingesting it in somebody, or however you want to put it. But basically the idea came to O'Bannon's roommate. I can't remember who it was at the time, but
Ron Shusett.
Ron Shusett, thank you. Because I think O'Bannon was sleeping on the couch or sleeping in bed, one of the two, and just middle of the night. And Ron comes in and wakes him up. He's like, I got it. And he's like, what? He's like, I got how we're going to get the alien on the ship. He's like, what? They're going to fuck him. Like, what? He's like, yes, the alien will have sex with them, and that's how they get on the ship. And he's like, whoa, you back it up. You're going to have to explain. So then he explained to him, the face hugger, basically, idea, or as I like to call them, the face fuckers. Because that's what they are.
They are. It is.
So he explained that, and he's like, genius. And then he went and put it in the script. And that's how they got the alien on the ship, because otherwise he couldn't fathom how anybody would logically allow something like that on the ship. But like, okay, if this was something that was actually, impregnated in the human, and they didn't quite know, that the human himself wasn't the problem, then yeah, they would try to just,
It's
get
funny
rid of the face hugger. But yeah,
because the solution to that in Dark Star was a comedic one where he's like, they just brought it on board because he's like, oh, it'll be fun. It'll be our mascot.
like a pet. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, if you fed the alien today, it's like, why do I got to feed the alien? Because you're the one that brought it on board,
Right.
But yeah, it was, and that was when they were reading the script. And again, it was the other producers, Gordon Carroll and Walter Hill.
Yeah.
They're the ones that tried to rewrite it. They added Ash as a robot. That was their major contribution. And they changed names and that sort of thing. Because they were really trying to get their fingerprints all over it and claim it as their own script.
Well, and that's kind of where I was coming from earlier too with the script. And that's the beauty of it, is as everybody knows, all the characters were written as asexual, basically.
Yeah.
They could have been plugged in or out either way. It didn't matter. And that's what makes Ripley such a strong female character. She's not written as a woman. Her being a woman isn't a big deal in this film. It isn't even a big deal until Aliens. And even there, it's just the motherly aspect, right? Like, people don't, like, this is where people like she's a strong character. She's got that motherly instinct. But the people that don't believe her because she's a woman, right? Like, that's the thing, is you can't sit there and say, oh, they're disregarding what she says because she's a woman. They're disregarding her for one of two reasons. A, because they do know something's out there and they're trying to cover it up. Or B, they just don't believe her because it's such a crazy story, right? So like,
going back to the Pioneer thing, there's a lot of instances with people bringing back
Bigfoot stories and shit. Yeah.
Well, even like
I'm just kidding.
The platypus. Someone went to Australia and brought back a stuffed platypus, and they accused them of taxiderming it together because nothing like that could ever exist. But
or the mermaid, yeah.
And this is the thing about this is the confusion when people say strong female character. Originally, when people would say that, it was from a writing point of view. A strong character means that their character is fleshed out in a way that, like, all the aspects make sense in a strong way, and we can believe this character. whether they're, you know, someone who is weepy and afraid, or, you know, and they have character evolution. That's what strong character means. It's just that people who don't understand what these terms mean just heard strong female character and they thought like, oh, she's going to kick everybody's ass. And that's a strong character, which is essentially, you know, we're going to make this woman better by turning her into a man. And that's not what strong female character means.
No, because her place is, or basically her status by the end of the film is no different than Jamie Lee Curtis at the end of Halloween.
Yeah.
There's a new film coming out right now, and I want to punch this in there while you guys are talking about this. It's called Queen or something like that. It's an action romantic drama, and where a guy and a girl fall in love, they do crime, and I guess he gets killed and she's going to avenge him. And there's a line that's delivered in there that where a character actually says this to the other character. A woman character says it to the other woman character. I have to make you as strong as a man. And it's such an absurd line. It's in the trailer.
Speaking of which, I have to actually get going because my strong female character, my wife, has just arrived with a bunch of groceries in the back, and they need a strong man.
Well, it's good talking to you, Chris.
To get those. Great
good
to be
you, Chris.
For having me as always. I want to try and do stuff like this more often. I always have so much fun with you guys. But I have to go, and I also have to keep working on my movie, which I hope I make it with people like you in mind.
Because I hope eventually you use me to do something for you.
So in other words, tons of midget porn?
A lot of midget porn, always.
Exactly.
It's the best. It's
Gary, I'm definitely getting you to voice one of the characters that gets killed at the beginning of Escape.
Oh, I meant for artwork, but yeah, okay.
But okay. By the way,
I'm the voice guy.
Are you typecasting me as an asshole?
Hey, look,
that's different. Yeah, if you need an asshole,
he's typecasting you as German.
Let me do a quick plug really quick before I go. Please check out my YouTube channel, Christopher Moonlight Productions, and also check out my Substack and my Subscribe Star for Escape from Planet Omega 12, which I'm working on at the moment. And I just did a video. It's a very long video, but it's based on my when I went to California to speak about AI and filmmaking at Midsummer Scream Halloween and Horror Convention. It's called Hollywood doesn't have an AI problem. It has an economic ignorance problem, because I came face to face with the WGA strike captain, and boy, was it eye-opening. So thank you, everyone. I look forward to being a part of this again. And with that, I will say, see you next Tuesday.
Well, I'm going to share your the link to your YouTube channel so folks can go over there and sub to you. Doing that right now. Good seeing you again, Chris. And he's already gone. So fuck you, Chris.
Well, deleted. Was there something you want to talk about? You've been quiet.
He wasn't lifting for a chance. I'm offended.
Yeah. When I first saw this movie, as I said earlier, I really got obsessed with the look of the film, the production design, the design of the alien itself, because we do see the entire life cycle of this creature. It never looks the same way from one scene to the other. Case in point, from when we first see it burst out of Kane's chest to when we next see it when it attacks Brett. They think they're looking for the smaller creature, and nope, that's out the window. Now, I was so wrapped up in the design that I almost forgot to be scared or really to pay attention to the plot, because I was just so obsessed with the look of it. And the reason why I didn't pay all that much attention to the plot was because of Tom Skerritt, because he was the actor that I knew.
He was actually, him and Yaphet were the only two actors that were established at the time.
Yeah. And,
Harry Dean, I think, was a consummate character actor at that point, right? In like some Western.
He was in a lot of movies.
Sorry, Steven, I did not mean to interrupt you like that.
Because he worked a lot with Jack Nicholson. But the two
Skerritt had MASH and a few other things under his belt at this point.
Yeah, the two of them were the best known actors in the film. But definitely, he was in some other films too. Like he was in two Jack Nicholson films.
Yeah, but anyway, Stephen was saying
that I
we
remember
interrupted
from
him.
those days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
You know.
Stephen.
Yeah, I was quite young, so I didn't get to catch up on everything they had done until I didn't realize that I had seen Veronica Cartwright and other things when she was a child.
Right.
That I had seen on television, but I
She's
never
the
made
sister
the
of
connection.
Penny from Lost in Space, you know.
Now that you mention it real quick, I just
Yeah.
got to say, this is one of her worst. I hate her in this movie. I cannot stand her shrill voice, her screaming throughout the film, and the idea of me. And I get it. In reality, you would have somebody there who would be like this anxious emotional wreck.
Timid. Yeah.
But
and
that
she
is the
really
one
is.
time when the movie really kind of dives into the, and I'm surprised it doesn't get called out more for it, kind of the more stereotypical, the way that the woman's acting all hysterical all the time kind of thing. But anyway, Stephen, I didn't mean to drag it.
Yeah,
And she's the reason
basically-
Parker's
she's
dead.
a wall in the corner. Yeah.
It's not her fault. It's Ridley's
No,
fault for giving her those
she wouldn't
directions.
move.
Yeah.
She wouldn't move, and he kept saying, "Get out of the way." And in the book, by the way, Alan Dean Foster penned the book based off of the script. He described the scene that Parker, out of panic for her, threw his flamethrower down and rushes this thing and puts it in a bear hug. And before he gets, the inner mouth to the forehead, where the way it was described in the book was that they're being lobotomized. They're not dead. They're just being lobotomized by the alien. And it's shutting down higher functions. And he broke ribs. He said before the teeth pierced the skin of his head, he could feel the ribs crack under his arms, which gave him a sense of, I'm hurting it. And but for no good reason. And they kind of left that out of the film. I don't think it was necessary. It's also, she doesn't die there. That scene where the thing goes under her leg, the tail, the scorpion tail, that's actually Brett. Those are Brett's pants and Brett's shoes. She actually ends up hiding from this thing in a closet and is so terrified, she gives herself a fucking heart attack. And that's how her character died. And that's really what you're hearing, is her dying. She's having a heart attack dying. But I think the way they ended up editing it, I think that works better. I think her dying of a heart attack was weird. And to have this thing go at her, and there's almost this, again, psychosexual aspect of the tail curving up between her legs and then coming up slowly behind her. There's something horrific about that. Well, and even though technically that's a guy's legs.
Yeah, it's from Brett's original death scene. They removed it in editing, but the implication with the way she's moaning and everything else is that it is raping her to death.
Yeah,
that was what was
the idea.
Exactly the idea. And by the way, this scene is so cool, despite some of the shortcomings of it. I loved how they did some of this shit with the marbles and stuff. It looked like they're tubes, but those were marbles.
Yeah, I was working up to that. Like I said, Tom Skerritt was the actor I knew, so that or the one that I knew the best anyway, and was the most recognizable. So I'm thinking, okay, he's the captain, he's the father figure, he's going to figure out what's going on, and he's the one that's going to save the day. He's not going to rescue everybody, but he's going to kill it. And he's going to be the fucking man. And then no, and halfway through the movie, he's taken away, and Ripley's the one that has to take over. And that's when I really started to get worried. Not scared, worried, because now things are not going according to plan. And we know things are not going to plan now because, as we learn in this scene, Ash is in league with the alien, or at least in league with the company, wanting to get the alien. And now we got this guy who's a talking head on a table. And what the hell is going on? Because I'm 7 years old trying to figure this out. Now this is the whole section of the movie where I started to get a little worried, a little freaked out, a little creeped, you know. And that's what made the movie for me. It went from being this kind of standard sci-fi movie to, oh, they're trying to say something with this, you know. And that's what made it interesting for me. And now it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
This scene did work because the miniature head there, or the replica head, is just warped due to they had problems on set with the making of that thing. Part of it shrunk, so the face got all fucked up. And I always felt, and what do you think, Tom, that when they were using the prosthetic head, they should have shot it from behind?
Probably. I mean, there's very little effects in this film that I really question, or that I can point to one that's like, yeah, they kind of nerfed that one. I mean, this movie does a pretty good job of selling all its effects for the most part.
Yeah, I think it's the weakest effect used in the film. Is
potentially.
Because they ran out of time and out of money is really the problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, we haven't even talked about the alien itself yet. I mean, even though we only see the alien for what, maybe, I think we see less of the alien in this movie than we do of the shark in Jaws. If not, they're very close. And
I think that's a good thing, and I'm glad you brought that up because it's a great comparison. It's a great comparison, Jaws and Alien. The thing that makes Alien work is not seeing the alien too much.
Yeah, because you're constantly questioning what is it, right? Like, what is the shape of this thing? I mean, you see the head, and it really kind of evokes. Yeah, and it kind of evokes that whole idea of like a bug-like thing, like I said, and it really, I mean, it just makes us as humans recoil, right? Because there's everything about this creature is what in our primordial selves recoils from, like a reptilian bug-like thing, right? And it looks almost,
and there's an almost spider-like feel to it too, because
almost a spider, but also like a mechanical feeling at the same time, and that's where the bio kind of thing kind of comes into it. And I love how you got that shield on the top where you can kind of just barely see through it, and how the skull you can see it. It just, that exoskeleton, that whole thing, like. The design of this thing was ingenious. Like using Geiger's, because that original painting that they keyed in on, that was pretty much the alien that we got, right? Like, I mean, if you've seen the painting, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like they looked at that and they're like, this is what we want right here. And they basically just recreated that. It's the penis painting
into its mouth.
The famous one. Yeah. And again, like, I mean, the only thing, maybe they could have gone a little farther with the sexualism of it, but they didn't. Because I wonder if that would have been too much, just to kind of make it almost too human then. Because that's what I think works about it, is you have this really tall, lanky guy inside this costume. And they even had one scene that got cut where he was walking, I think, on his hind legs for like a crab walk thing that they were going to use for a while, and they decided not to, and some other things. So like what they ended up using was just a barely usable footage they could find, because it really was just this guy in a costume. Right? Like, and what they managed to do with that was amazing. Now, yeah, sure, you can see some of the shortcomings there, maybe now with some of it a little bit, to get when you get some of the more wider shots of the costume and you get to see more of the alien in action. But it still works. The way it's cut, the way it's shot, the way it's lit, the way this costume looks, the amount of detail that went into it to make it look like a Geiger painting come to life, I think really helps sell the idea that this thing is otherworldly. It means us no good, and then you got the second mouth on top of it all. Like, I mean, that is just ingenious, right? Like, I mean,
mouth inside of a mouth,
the mouth inside of a mouth. I mean, like, yeah, with the little thing that comes out.
So
yeah,
snapping jaw. There's a shot here I wanted to go back to. Just real quick, because this scene scared the shit out of me in the theater. When you see the shadow on the wall when she's packing tanks away, Lambert, and I was just about losing my fucking mind watching this film. Right there, that shot, and you see the shadow of the alien coming into the room, and she turns, and I'm just, dude, man, this movie scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. It really did. Now, we have a poll going, so here we go. who technically owned Jones the cat? Of course, the answer was Brett. The next poll, which is going right now, Queen is at 33%, The Who at 8%, Genesis at 33%, and Kiss at 25%. I'm now going to end that poll and give you the answer. There's the end of the poll.
The winner of
Let's
the first
see.
poll was Ripley, Gary.
And no, it's Brett. Brett was technically the one who
You
took
just
care of the
pulled
cat.
it up. It was Ripley, the winner. Of
I
the
think she
poll.
means by votes. But yeah.
No, by votes, and the answer was wrong because the answer was Brett. So this question right now is, what rock band lent the blue laser used in the alien ship's egg chamber? Was it Queen, The Who, Genesis, or Kiss? Now I'm going to bet Tom knows the answer to this.
I picked Queen. I actually don't know.
Oh, you don't know? Holy shit. I just knew you. I figured you would. This, of course, is the laser that was used. And this was kind of a new thing at the time. And it looked really cool. It created that blue, it was meant to be like an electronic film over the eggs that the eggs would be triggered by if it's broken. So, but this is actually who it was right here. That's Roger Daltrey of The Who, and it was their laser that was borrowed.
That'd have been my second guess, yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. The answer is Roger Daltrey. He's in the picture, but it's actually The Who. Also, this is the painting you were talking about, and I thought it went into the mouth, but it went into the head. That painting is crazy. And when Ridley saw it, he said, "That's our alien. That's it."
Well, and I
That's
think Dan
horrifying.
keyed on it too, if I remember right, and that's basically what everybody wanted, right? And the studio wanted him to go with something completely different. Yeah.
Yeah, Dan absolutely was pushing for it, Dan O'Bannon. And by the way, I wanted to share a personal story because, I knew Ron Chusette for years. I lost contact with him, and it breaks my heart because I would still love him. He's still alive. I'd love to talk to him again. And he regaled the story of how this screenplay got started. Was when O'Bannon broke up with his wife, and he had no place to go. And Ron and his wife let him stay there. And a lot of people misrelay the story because he actually lived in their basement. And the funny story is that he would be up all night working on this script. And he kept butting his head because he was having trouble with it. But he would stay up all night working. And the wife, Chusette's wife, would get freaked out because every time she went to bed, she washed the dishes. And she would get up and there'd be like all new dishes in the sink. And they started referring to him as the basement troll, Dan O'Bannon. And it was while living with him that he got, I hate this scene. I hate this scene. It shouldn't have been added back in. 20th Century Fox was wrong for wanting this.
It's creepier if you never know what happens to Dallas. It's like, he's just gone.
But it's the first time you hear the use of "kill me."
Yeah.
And that's Brett, by the way.
Oh, so this is the director's cut?
Yeah, this is the director's cut. And this is where you see that Brett's already being converted into an egg, is the original idea. And that's a terrible idea. That life cycle doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I'm sharing the original design from Cobb before they used the Geiger design.
Yeah, he had this giant insectoid drawing, as I recall.
Yeah, they were thinking they could maybe shave down an orangutan or something.
That's it. Yeah, the insectoid. And and have an orangutan in a suit. It's like, this is terrible.
Here's what it would have looked like, actually. But no.
It's kind of a cool design, but I don't think it would have worked for this.
No, and I can't show you the face hugger design from Geiger. It's way too vaginal. It'll get you shut down.
Well, you actually, when you look at the face hugger today, the face hugger today actually has a vagina that has a penis that comes out of it.
That's basically what Geiger did. Yeah. The only difference between his design and the design we got is they moved, because his fingers are up on top, they moved them to the side to make it look more like spider legs.
Yeah, spider-like. And then
otherwise,
he ended up liking that, by the way.
Yeah.
He ended up liking that. And so when the guy was working on the model, he was the one who came in and finished it. And he says he didn't want to change anything. He actually liked what they did.
Oh, I
And
love
it
the
worked.
behind the scenes footage of him actually just working on like the sets and working on the alien
Sculpting, I
costume
know.
and shit, and just like painting it with airbrush and stuff, and you're just watching him do the shit. It's
Oh,
just,
when
like,
you see even the building of the derelict, the alien spaceship, it's not even hardening clay. That's plastilina they use, and then they're spraying painting over clay that never hardens. So there's like, well, there's no wonder that it didn't survive, because they were using materials that weren't designed to last. I love the design behind these, because this is actually based on an actual bomb mechanism, and they put that
Is this
in
where
there.
she
I'm like,
calls
"Oh, that's
Mother
really
a
fucking
bitch?
cool."
I love
Yes, it's right after she tries to turn it off and it won't shut off. She's you bitch.
And that's also ties into Dark Star. Like I know Christopher probably would have brought this up here if he was here, but yeah, that's one of the other running gags in Dark Star. Is the computer don't want to listen to the people anymore because they keep going into self-destruct mode.
Well, he convinces it that the people talking to him aren't real, and that at the very end they're trying to go,
Oh my god, that is so fucking funny. Yeah, they're all in his head. Now you make me want to watch that movie. It's surfing to the fucking planet on a ladder.
Oh,
is my
Dark
favorite
Star is
moment.
hilarious. It's just basically the parody of this before. It's weird because it's like if the guys
made before the movie.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Because actually, that's more of a parody of 2001, which is weird. So it's kind of funky to think like it's almost like if Spaceballs had given somebody an idea to make a serious movie based on Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not even joking. It's that weird because Dark Star is literally a parody of 2001, and then they took that same exact concept and they just applied it in a serious way to Alien, right? So it's like, but it would be like if somebody took Spaceballs, but they come up with something that was completely different than Star Wars, but it still worked with the story and some of the concepts and stuff that were presented in Spaceballs, but serious, right? Like somebody's actually coming to steal somebody's air or something like that, you know? Like,
no, one of the things we can't show off at all is the actual like sound design, especially this section. Like I saw the 45th anniversary screening in the theaters recently. Yeah, just the sound design alone fucks with you. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
I just forgot, what was the fourth Alien film called?
Resurrection.
I said it earlier. Resurrection. Yeah. I'm gonna do a poll.
Big erection.
Big erection.
Alien, his erection. Let's see. Going into it, though, the alien is an amazing monster because if you think about it, it's almost every human fear that primarily that exists is there. Fear of disease, death, SA, childbirthing, which, from what I understand, is literally human psychology. The mother's brain actually rewrites the entire experience because of how traumatic it is. Birthing trauma of being born yourself, which most people don't even remember, but it's actually like is a big thing with the beginning. And the beginning is literally them being born. They were actually supposed to be naked at the beginning, like as if they were newborn babes.
Got a new poll going up, guys.
Aliens
of the
came out in
original
86,
franchise
not
films.
87.
Oh, fuck you. You're right, 86. I stand corrected.
I'm just picking
I
on you.
stand corrected. Oh,
Ripley's
man.
first name is Ellen.
You're making me look dumb.
Yeah, that's not her first name.
I know.
What's not her first name?
Ripley. I don't
No,
know.
it's her
He just
last
said it.
name, right?
Oh, I said Ripley's first name is Ellen. That was the joke I was.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, in the new film, I kind of like the young lady that plays Rain. She's she and the android are the best parts of the film.
That's what everybody's saying, but like, yeah, I'm really.
She's in the same age range in real life as Sigourney was. Sigourney was
My
27.
problem is
and
they're
she's
just trying too hard to make her
25.
look like Ripley from the first two films because they even give her the exact same outfits and everything, and that's one thing that turned me
Even
off.
holds the weapon the
trailers.
same way. Yeah.
Yeah,
No
and all
training.
that business, and it's just I don't know. They even have the training like.
I did find hilarious that how you know this. Oh, I read in magazines.
What's a magazine?
Yeah, the next Tom and Gary will be aliens because I think we should do.
Oh, we
both
are doing
films,
aliens?
The new film. I think we should. I really do, and I do think we should do the director's cut on that
I
one.
figured
And
by
that
then
one
we'd
was
want to
good.
do. I figured we'd do.
Did you like the
Beetlejuice
director's
next,
cut?
but okay. Oh yeah, that's as far as
Wait.
I'm concerned. That's the only version.
That's
'Cause
the
I
only
think in-
version to watch.
Yeah, because I don't think like the stuff about her daughter and all that stuff's in the theatrical cut. If
It's
I
not
remember.
in the theatrical.
Yeah, so it kind of really you need that, and I mean you don't need the facility, you don't need the stuff with Newt's family necessarily. Like that's I could take or leave some of that, but there's a lot of other little elements that you do kind of need for the story to make more sense. Like I mean, yeah, it's a great little action film on its own in the theatrical cut, but that's one of those rare director's cuts that are better than or special
Well,
edition.
I got to tell you, Newt can scream.
Oh yeah.
And the scene that establishes that isn't the later one. It's the one when her mother and who gets infected? Was it the
It's
father
her
or the
dad.
mother?
Her
The
dad
Her dad.
stops and then
The
goes
mother. Yeah, the mother standing there and she sees the dad with the face hugger.
Basically,
and
we
she
get the scene
screams.
from the first film
Cool.
again, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just get
So-
Ripley screaming, which, yeah, I mean, that scene, you don't necessarily need it in quotations, but like that's one of the only scenes that I can think of that isn't necessary in the director's cut or special edition, whatever you call it. Because I don't know if he calls it his director's cut or not. I think he calls it
Gary,
the special edition.
We skipped your most terrifying scene, Sigourney Weaver's ass.
Yeah, the first time, Tom, I when I was a critic for Illinois' #1 alternative news magazine, and I wrote a review for the scariest movies to watch for Halloween. Every year I would do one, and I listed Alien as #1 scariest scene. Ellen Ripley's ass, because it's so damn flat.
She doesn't have an ass.
That's what I mean. She's got a flat ass. There's nothing there.
There's nothing.
And
yeah.
what is it? By the way, what is this shit with them putting her bush back in? Is that fucking real?
No, it was some.
It just sounds like bullshit.
I think it came from some parody article, and then some people started spreading it as fact.
Yeah, I know. I saw it spreading. I'm like, oh, come on,
It's
man. That can't
bullshit.
be real.
Even Sigourney Weaver, I think, ended up having to address it at one point. It got
Good.
that far. And she's
By
like,
the way,
that's complete and utter bullshit.
Now, you guys see all the sparkly stuff on the glass here. And they use it when she's laying down and she's asleep, and they do the whole, voiceover of her talking on radio or over the recording, last report from Ellen Ripley, blah, 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 lone survivor of the Nostromo. That stuff is the internal absorption crystals from a diaper. That's what they used to create that effect, that frost effect on the glass. And I thought that was a really cool effect. But what a pain in the ass, right? Nothing.
A window
Nope.
pane in the ass?
So
I do like the fact that they have a special suit in here, unlike the other ones, that's white. And it just was really cool. I remember as a kid going, well, man, I want that one. I want that one. It's so cool looking. But these were, again, designed by Jean Garot, also known as Mobius. It was his main contribution to Alien, was the space. Other than helping inspire it. Because oddly, one of the inspiring stories to Ridley Scott was a sci-fi story written by Dan O'Bannon and drawn by John Garot for Heavy Metal, or what was it called?
heavy metal.
Yep.
It's not Heavy Metal, the French version. Hurlet was what it was called. Metal Hurlet was the French version of the magazine. And that was where Ridley had seen it.
Who are the psychotic 9% of the people in the audience who voted for Alien Resurrection?
Don't hate on our audience, Tom.
No. That's some shit that needs to be called out.
Be nice.
Yeah, we didn't call that shit out. Come on, man.
Not 1% for Alien 3, but Alien Resurrection. Come on, people. Like I can understand 45% split for the first and second film. That makes sense. But who in the hell votes for Alien 4?
Maybe they're just big Ron Foreman fans.
I'm just picking on them.
I'll pull it up so everybody can see, because here's the end of the poll. There you go. Which Alien franchise is your
Who
favorite?
the hell? 11
Alien
votes. That's like
Pussies.
one person, I think.
It's Bush. You know it's fucking Bush.
It's Bush. He did it just to be.
Reminder: the math on this doesn't add up because it was done.
Oh,
by
he's
a
blaming
woman.
it on Chris.
I'm just kidding. We don't hire women here.
I can't believe we only have 11 people voting.
Yeah, come on, guys.
We had
Oh,
more
I
than six-
ended it early, so
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to do another trivia question, I'm just trying to think of things to
Well, we're
ask
getting near
that
the end of the
come
film
out.
here anyway, so
Yeah, I love the ending to this, and I'm glad they didn't go. And that was mentioned by someone in the chat that originally Ellen Ripley was supposed to be killed, and that the alien mimics her voice and does the recording. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that was a terrible idea.
I had a question about that because I have read O'Bannon's draft and I've read the Walter Hill, David Giler draft. I've never seen any version that has that ending in it. Where did that come from?
Really Scott
My guess
like,
it was probably one of the early ones by O'Bannon rewrites, because it was like early in the process, and that was just a terrible idea.
Okay.
And it may have been one of the final drafts, and then they were like, "That's a terrible idea. We need to don't do that." And I love the way they shot this this is a full scale rear of the ship, and the alien you see isn't a miniature. That's the guy in the suit.
I just love that it rains. It makes absolutely no sense, but the way it just comes down towards the camera is great. It's beautiful.
Yeah, because they use gravity. It was like upright, and the camera's aiming straight up at the ship. And that way, when all the water is released, it looks like fuel drops or something going through the burning process. I don't know. I just thought it was beautiful the way they did that. The guy in the suit was a big, tall African man.
Same guy as in Predator, right?
No, different guy.
No.
The guy in Predator, he died in 91, 92 from HIV, complications from HIV. This guy, this is all he ever did. And he went on to have a life elsewhere doing other stuff, I think engineering, because he was in school. But he'd been a dancer. And so he had this great physical movement. And that Ridley wanted to take advantage of that with him in that costume. And I got to tell you, the less they shot of that thing, the more horrifying it was. But the one thing that always terrified me, with the alien costume, and I'll see if I can find a picture of it, is the fact that its head is clear. And you could actually see a skull, a human skull underneath it, where its face should be, under the clear glass. And it was really because it was scuffed up and dirtied, so you would see it only from certain angles and slightly blurred. But you could see the human skull inside the alien head. And originally, they had the clear plastic shell for the alien creatures and aliens. But he decided it was going to be a problem, so Cameron said, don't use them. They had them, they just didn't use them. And that's why the alien heads look different in Aliens, is because they didn't put the plastic cover onto the alien heads. Trying to see if I can find it here. A good picture. Oh, I remember that. Tom, did you collect the trading cards?
I do have them, yes. In fact,
I
think
collected
shared
them too.
A picture on my.
I love those things. My daughter inherited all my cards. She got all my Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, James Bond, and Alien. And there was another group. I forget what the other one is. I just had a crap load of cards.
Alien actually showed up in a different top. It had their own top set of cards. Yep. Plus, they showed up in the Fright Flicks set as well. There was some.
I don't know about the Fright Flicks ones. When did they come out?
Yeah, they were like 87, 88, somewhere in there. They're just a collection of different horror films. Obviously, ones that, for the most part, Topps wouldn't have been able to probably get away with doing on their own, but they did them in kind of the way they used to do some of their wacky packs and some of their other ones where they'd have the goofy captions and stuff on them. Yeah, let me see if I can find them here. I got them on my.
I just cannot find a decent photo of the Alien.
Damn I got one from the Topps card.
Where you can see the skull.
Here. I think. Yeah. Let me, if I can get to it here.
And I want to show everybody the poster too, because the poster and the original trailer were so good because they used. You can really see that this is clearly not the egg from Alien. It is a regular egg that they fucked with. Oh, good, you got this one.
Yeah, you can't really see it.
Yeah, you can't see it. It's obscured because it wasn't totally clear. And the way they lit it, it was hard to see, but you can actually see at times the human skull in there. Because that was the first sign that the alien got some of its DNA from humans through this process.
Yeah. Gerry private chat, there's one. You can see it.
Oh, cool. Clearly. Hold on a second. Here is the egg. And you notice that the net down below is kind of meant to look like humans with arms out. And that was on purpose that they did that. But the egg itself is horrifying to me. And that trailer, when that egg cracked and that light came through, that had me hooked, man. I was going to see this fucking movie. And then I pussied out and closed my eyes. See, what is this? Oh, that's Fright Flicks. Okay. So they had their own series? Were they good at cardstock as Topps?
They're Topps. They're Topps cards, but basically what they did
is
they
are
like
Topps.
Yeah. Like basically, like they joke. As you can see, Topps picture card series. They got like Freddy, they got Predator, Aliens. I think there was even some from Fright Night, Ghostbusters, a bunch of stuff.
Now, see, I would have loved to have had Ghostbusters and Fright Night. Man.
I think Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead, one of the two. But they got little funny captions like, "I visit my dentist once a year. Unfortunately, he died." And then you got, "Hi, I'm a new babysitter," stuff like that. And then on the back there was these little
82.
I
like
what
that.
Movie it was from. And then on the back it would have just a little itty bitty little mystery story. Like
I loved it when they also
put
the
Houston
bios.
Public Library would stroll through it after hours playing his violin. He died in 1962, but days after his death, the sounds of the far-off violin music could be heard floating through the library. Ooh. Shit like that.
That's good shit, man. And there we see. Yeah. That's the young black man that played the.
That's a great.
He was
pick.
a dancer at the time, and he was in college. And you can really see the human skull there underneath the plastic dome. I'm telling you, this is just a horrific design for a guy in a suit. This is scary shit.
I just
and
found
it really
one.
Did terrify me.
Last one, it's before they put the clear plastic on, so you can clearly see what's underneath it now.
Let's see it. And I remember reading about him that he was like just the sweetest guy, very quiet, very timid, polite. And he had no interest in ever doing film again. This is one off.
Hey, if you're going to be in one film, be an alien.
Oh, wow. You can really see it there. Yeah. See, now the head looks more like it does in Aliens. Not the skull part, but the top. See how this top is? Where the clear dome would go over that. So that's neat. Are you able to enlarge that picture at all?
Yeah,
Try
just
to
click
find
it.
the
Gorge
name,
Go,
but-
like, full
There you
screen.
go.
Gorge
Cool.
it.
Yeah, that's
Look
awesome.
at that.
And biggin.
Look at that. Oh my God. That is just mesmerizing.
Yeah. With that pose, though, it looks like he should just have a cigarette in his hand going like, guy, kill humans again.
Right.
when he says-
Even though in reality his head is way up there near the peak
Yeah.
of the head. But it looks like he's sitting there with his head leaning forward and he should have
Yeah.
smoke hanging out on a smoke break. Holy shit. That costume. That was amazing
So
shit, man.
sick of chasing humans around.
I'm telling you, H.R. Giger really caused many of us to have nightmares in the late 70s, early 80s.
But like the best nightmares. So
Yeah,
Well, what's
sure.
hilarious is this is one of the first times they attempted to try and, I mean, besides the top cards that did come out, they did try to tie in some toys with this movie for some reason other than Star Wars. I don't understand.
My
But,
buddy Bennett Sumner got the big 12-inch tall.
yeah, very
alien
few people got that because that came out
from Kenner.
and parents complained, and so they pulled it, and then and they were going to do a little 3 3/4 inch figure line like Star Wars, but they pulled that at the last minute after the reaction to the big figure. And yeah, so like that, they have since, I think Funko did both. I can't remember if they did both or not, but I think they did.
Here, I've got a
Recreation
couple
of
of
the big
pictures
one.
here.
Yeah, I got the big one, a recreation of it, and then they also did the little 3 3/4 inch figure line based upon the original designs, and that kicked off the Funko. Well, now Secret 7 owns them, but the reaction line, you know, the little 3 3/4 inch figures. So they kicked that off with.
Okay. We have
All right, I've got
E.
enough.
Clay Thomas has been a member for 14 months. And from E. Clay, we have a $5 super chat.
I always wondered why once a face hugger leaves you, why you can't just stomach punk the alien out or induce vomiting.
Well, they
Assuming
probably
you
could
knew
have
it was there.
easily if
They
Ash
knew.
wasn't part of the conspiracy to do what's happening to the crew. He's part of it. That's why they didn't pump his stomach. He knew it was in there. You could tell at the dinner table the way he keeps watching.
You would
it.
think it should have been standard procedure. I would assume it's attached itself somehow to the inner lining. Somehow, that's probably why, but I could be wrong.
it's a
'Cause
little.
it's got to
odd
use
about
you somehow to
weird.
live, so it's got to create its own kind of umbilical cord of sorts.
Yeah, so you know they think it's a parasite that's living on him, but in fact, what it's doing is impregnating him and keeping him alive during the process. So it's just weird.
Okay. And for E. Clay, we have this video.
I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
Now, I was uploading, so I'm hoping that didn't get interrupted. If it does, I'll just do it again. Put us back in the back into the studio, the right one, please.
Yes. Yes.
And this is the Kenner action figure. And my buddy Bennett Sumner, who is not just my buddy, Jim Woodward's my other childhood best friend. He had the figure, and this is what it looked like.
Yeah, sadly, the
Awesome.
newer recreation isn't quite as cool looking, but yeah.
Well, with
It's almost
age,
the same, though. Yeah.
the plastic part of it, the clear plastic part of it, that's actually not the color it was. It was more clear.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can't really see through
Age.
the newer ones as well, so maybe that's why that could be, yeah. I'm
But,
trying to
yeah,
remember
it
if you can
comes
actually
like
take the
this, and
top
then
off
you-
anymore. I don't think
you
you can
can.
on the newer one.
In the
On the old
original,
one, you
you could.
could. On the old one, you could, yeah, but I don't know if you can on this one. But yeah, I'd have to
This
dig it out
artwork
again.
is so cool that came with it. And this is the original 12-inch tall alien figure. And I wish they'd put out more. That now, I forget the name of the company that's putting out a lot of the horror figures. that you find at Walmart. And I'd go through Walmart always checking them out, and I ended up buying Ash, Dallas, and Kane. They were the only ones I got. And then I also got the alien egg with Facehugger from them. So I still have those. They're in a box right now. You just got to Apple
Bees.
Fly.
Applebee's.
Oh, BB.
Applebee's.
Applebee's. Man, I did not know it's a B. Okay. NECA. NECA did. That's the figures. My problem with the NECA figure is Ash does not look like Ian Holm. I forget who it looks like.
Sometimes that's a rights issue. Like they can't get the sign off on the actor's likeness.
Yeah, here it is. It's a cool figure, but I had problems with it because it won't stand up. You have to have a stand for it. You can't just pose it and then leave it alone. It's going to fall over every single time. It's so off balance, the design. But I love that it came with the milky head too. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. No, it's not big enough. Let me get something larger. Here we go. Now we're talking. Save image. Please don't be it. Fucking Google pisses me off when they do that.
In the meantime, I'm going to show this that Tom is sharing.
Yeah, this is the version I have. Actually, it's an Aliens basically recreate.
Oh, yes, I've seen that one too in the stores.
That's the one I got. Yeah.
How much was that?
At the time, I want to say like in the 60s, but now it goes for like a couple.
It's such a rip
like
off. They rip us nerds off. You shouldn't have to pay more than $29.
Maybe it was like 40 or maybe, but I don't remember. But it's in the hundreds, like 100 something now. It goes for because it was only like 5-6 years ago.
They don't. Yeah, they're not making it anymore. So
the difference is it's got more of the gold, as you can see here. It's got more of the gold highlight from Aliens, and the inside. I'm pretty sure this top doesn't come off. But like I think there's a trigger on the back of his head. It's clear. It's clear, but it's not.
Yeah,
like
where
clear,
you push
clear.
the jaw
it's
out.
like, yeah, and then the jaw comes down and the little mouth comes out. Yeah.
Now here's the one of Ash I was talking about, and it doesn't look like Ian Holm at all. Oddly, the milky head does, but for some reason the other head doesn't. But I got it because I'm a big Alien fan too, and I like to do my own collecting when I can.
I didn't get the bigger ones, but I got the 3 3/4 inch of the ones from Alien and Aliens. I don't have all of them, I think, but I got most.
You remember the Aliens action figures that were G.I. Joe size that had Hicks, Hudson, all that shit?
Oh, that was the ones I was talking about earlier with like where they had, and that was going to be the animated series that never got made. Those toys came from.
Yeah, Disney put out some Alien figures a year or two ago, and they were like multicolored, like purple.
I think those were to be. Some of those they put out were actually retro figures to kind of emulate the Alien. Oh God, what the hell was it called? Alien. Let me look it up here.
See if I can find them. Alien.
Like Alien Commandos or something like that. I can't remember.
I think it was 2022.
Oh no, I'm talking about way many years ago.
Yeah, here they are. I'll share my screen here. They even made the big chap, who does make an appearance in the new film, by the way. Because that's what you see at the beginning of the film. They recover the body of the big chap. Go, Tom. This is what I'm talking about.
Alien. That's what I was talking about.
This is the NECA colored series that was at Walmart, and they were just
those, yeah.
I like, by the way, the one thing I like about Alien 3 was the dog alien. I thought that was cool looking. Because it had impregnated a dog, the face hugger. See if they have any more of those bright color ones. Like, here's another one. I'm like, I just hated this. I'm like, why would anybody want to buy this? Bright neon colored things. Here's another one.
Oh well, this is how the predator would see them.
Here's another
That
one,
one's
and this one's just weird looking. And by the way, I don't know how you feel about it. I actually like the first Alien versus Predator, even though I feel like it's more Predator universe. It does feel part of the universe with Alien because we got to see the real guy who inspired Bishop.
I have a meh kind of thing with it. It's so this is from the animated series that never.
It
Oh my
wasn't
God,
an animated series. It was a commercial for the toys.
I love that top image.
Yeah, but they were going to make
on
a
the left.
series out of it, and that's the toys that
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. I remember these, and I almost
but it
got me
never
some
they
of
never
them.
did the series though. So
That sucks.
Yeah. The merchandise, though, it's the weird part. The merchandise lasted like 6 years before they just changed the branding to Aliens.
Didn't NECA put out one of the Alien figures? Because I couldn't find it, but it seems to me
I'm
like
pretty
NECA.
sure I got a NECA. I got
Yeah,
an
here it
Alien
is, right
figure.
here.
I got the
Here it is,
Alien one. I
NECA.
just didn't get the other full size 6-inch ones or whatever.
Here we go. I went over to NECA. Here it is.
Oh, yeah,
This
they
is
got
actually for
that's
the
a
new
new
film.
one. Yeah, I got one from Alien.
That's the one with the what do they call it? Fire damage. Has that scar from the shock stick. It's got a scar on its head.
I call him Scary.
There. Is this Chap? Big Chap?
I think so.
Sure. Kind of looks
original
like him.
Xenomorph.
Because a lot of people don't realize that he's got 6 fingers.
Mm-hmm.
But they messed up his legs. But I guess they're trying to make it look more animal-like. But that does look like the Big Chap, which is the nickname I think Ridley Scott gave it, didn't he?
I'm trying to remember where it came from. It's been a while.
These are cool figures, though. NECA puts out some cool shit, man.
I think McFarlane did a couple.
I love McFarlane's work. He's my favorite. Oh, and also I do like this image at the beginning of the film. Because right at the end of the opening scene, it ends with what looks like when you find a fossil rock, but the fossil's been removed, so you have the negative imprint of it. That's what you see. But here they give you the positive imprint. I might get that right there. Let me tell you, Tom. That looks like something I'd like to put on my as my nightlight next to the bed. Put it right next to my bed because I'm weird.
I thought you were going to put it on your.
Oh, they should. They should make alien condoms that with the snapping teeth that come out.
For that extra.
It's that extra oomph.
And that, you guys, is why I am the only girl on this fucking podcast.
It's called. It has an extra level of birth control on it because no woman will want to have sex with you wearing that.
Now, I do want to get Anima's impression here because Anima had to look away from the screen a lot watching Alien. She sat through that movie with me, and she saw, I would say, at least 60% of the film. But what was your general impression of the film? Did you think it was written well acted?
Yeah, definitely.
And it was scary, wasn't it?
I'm the wrong person for this kind of movie. That's just not my world, and it never will be.
Tough titties. You're my girlfriend,
dude.
I don't enjoy stuff like that. So.
I don't want to show this just for not upsetting Anima.
Please don't make it your penis.
No. NECA has a life-size alien egg with a face hugger.
Oh no, I've seen this, dude, and I want that.
No.
Show it.
Okay.
Full size egg with the face hugger. My problem with it is I don't like the texture as it gets around to the side and going towards the base where the veins go off into they're like roots or something.
Show it,
And
Martin.
I thought they're kind of
I'm on it.
But the top portion of it and the face hugger is pretty cool. I just don't like the side. There's a flatness to it. Also, it's supposed to be semi-translucent.
Yeah.
There it is, the vagina. They should, anytime they show that thing, they should put something over it, like blacking it out.
Before we move together, Gerry, we need to talk about this. This thing.
Yeah, I don't like the veins, the root system. They're
Oh,
too
and it
small.
opens and closes.
Yeah.
So it basically, if you're not careful, she will actually pull out a flamethrower and burn the egg for you.
Yeah, I'll just come home one day. Hey, where's my alien egg? And she'll get, what's that? I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen such a thing.
No, I'll just blame it on Rocket Kitty. She destroyed it.
Yeah, Cat decided to use it as a cat scratcher and just tore it up. Sorry.
About cat. Somebody said, how come the alien didn't go for the cat? I think they both were lurking.
I think it was interested in
the
it.
alien. It was interested in it, but I think the alien just realized the cat is a predator too and decided not to go after it.
No, I don't think it had anything to do with that. I think the cat looked at it and recognized it as a fellow predator. But the alien, I think, studied it there, which is why when she came back, it was on its side. I think he was trying to figure out how to get to it.
I don't know. I think it was respect on both sides for the other predator.
Tom, your thoughts?
I think the cat was too insignificant for it to really care about.
See, that's what I thought at first, but why was it knocked over? I think that it was studying it, trying to figure out if it could be used. And
maybe
consider opening it, but I think it found it too difficult to get into the cage, so it just left it. I couldn't figure out why is the cage on its side now when she comes back to get it. But I do like that scene where it looks in there at it and you see Jones looking back at it. And that's an intense scene. I think every cat lady out there is like, don't hurt the cat.
Of course. You're heartless.
It's true sometimes. But anyway, I think we're wrapped up here. That was fun. It was fun getting into this film. What film did you suggest for the next one, Tom?
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to do Beetlejuice because Beetlejuice comes out on the 6th, but
God damn it, it's a good idea. See, I wanted us to do Aliens because I just love the Alien film, the 2 Alien films.
Well, somebody said you guys just did a Military Monday with Aliens, so
we did, but I went about it from the military aspect, and I focus on that.
I mean, we kind of talked about the whole franchise in this discussion.
Yeah, we'll do Beetlejuice. I'll set it up. So in 2 weeks, guys, rejoin us, and we will be talking about what's the line he says? I'm the ghost with the most.
Nice fucking model.
I love his Brooklyn accent. It's fucking cool.
I've seen The Exorcist 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every time I see it.
Not to mention you're talking to a dead guy here.
You think I'm qualified?
Lauren, Gerry isn't fooling anyone. Everybody knows he loves my cats, so.
Oh, I love the cats. Had a great moment today. What's that cat's name? Ivy.
He still doesn't know.
You bunch of losers! You're working with a professional here.
And where can a guy go have a good time?
Why did you build that? I didn't.
I love that Beetlejuice.
Yeah, because the wife gets upset. But I think it's convenient that they killed off the dad because in real life he was busted for pedo stuff, and then they got rid of the husband and wife character ghosts, the Dietzes, or no, not the Dietzes. What were their name?
Dietz.
It was the Dietz. Okay, the Dietzes.
Lydia's family is the Dietz.
Okay,
Lydia
that's what
Dietz.
I thought. So, what is the family? Alec Baldwin and what's her name? I forget their names, but they got rid of them because
the Maitlands.
Maitlands, that's it.
Oh.
Maitlands. Thank you. They got rid of them because Alec Baldwin, is problematic. And then they also
how are you going to explain how they age? Yeah.
Well, with de-aging that they can do today, I think they could work it out. But the fact is but
Gina Davis is batshit crazy, and Alec Baldwin,
they're both crazy.
Alec Baldwin makes people into ghosts now, so when they want to stay the hell away from him.
I knew something was wrong with him when I saw him on Conan O'Brien, like back in the 2000s, and he started talking about this politician, Republican, saying that they need to drag him, his family, and his kids out the street and stone him.
You are worthless, Alec Bowen. You are worthless, Alec Bowen. You failed in every way, and now my stalking you has fallen.
Matt and Trey are prophets at that point because you could not have guessed back then that Alec Baldwin would make a perfect villain.
Whoa! Andy Morrow has just gifted 5 memberships.
Thank you,
Thank
Andy.
you
That's awesome.
very much, sir. Gerry doesn't deserve you.
And I'm so happy that one of the memberships went to Penny.
Yay!
Membership for 14 months, and then
And Bush
I always
got one
wondered why
too.
Once the Face Hugger, the stomach pump.
We did
And
that
then
one.
Andy Morrow gifted 5 pop culture memberships. There you go. Thank you, buddy. And who did he gift?
Penny.
Oh, Penny?
Scribelight, Soul Assassin,
I've got it here.
Happy
I've got it here.
Precious, and Bush.
I'm looking because I get these. I got this Penny, Scribe Light, Soul Assassin, Cam's Crash Courses, and Bush McFadden. I gotta do the video
Dustin
again
just
every time I
joined
see
us.
his name. So, but that's it, guys. Let's wrap this shit up. Everybody's got stuff to do. Animat's got to go to bed. It's so late over here in Austria.
Yeah, it's almost 1. Fuck you.
She's in the future.
Yeah, I am.
Not as much as Australia, but she is in the future.
Well, we have people
Keto
from
Simple's
England
here.
and from France watching.
So I want to thank everybody for dropping in on Tom and me today. Thanks, guys. Emmanuel, of course, Inner Circle, Lord Thoth, Deleted Scene, Slasher Fred, Bush, Sci-Fi Mombi, Snorts, Howo, Wade, the comic. By the way, he did do a breach earlier, Martin. If you didn't get the video, you might want to play.
No, I
that
didn't.
before we leave, Wade did a backdoor breach. The Comic Relief Crusader, my good buddy Mike, Connie Cleary, Lauren Worth, Country Shape Media, Curtis Selby, Regis Fritchie, Vinkman's Girl, Shadow of the Raven, Penny, Andy Masterson, awesome one, JPRPH1, TJ Basham, Soul Assassin, Read by Nature, War Monkey, Joe's Atmosphere, E. Clay Thomason, FKHC 2005, aka Tim, CJ, what is it? CJ with the Action Grip. I love that one. Mephisto, our good buddy. He's been on the show now, Tom. I like that guy, man. Have you hung out with him yet?
Oh yeah, lots of times.
Dude is awesome, man. I enjoyed
It's
it.
really cool. I hope he joins us again.
I do too. Parrot Head, Quantum Age Comics, Adega Outlaw, Andy Morrow, Scribe Light, Keto Simple. Love all you guys, man. You're great. We have, we share a lot of the same people with all you guys, Midnight's Edge, everybody. But the fact is, I love our chat so much because they're the reason I do shows at all. It's fun. It's fun talking to them. So I hope everybody enjoyed the show today. Tom, thanks again for joining me this weekend, doing our little show. And one day we're going to have to do a video of just you walking through your house showing all your shit. Do a
Yeah,
tour.
that'll be more difficult than you think.
It always is. Anima, thanks for being here. Martin, Deleted Scenes, and Shanatsky, thanks for being here. And Martin, of course, you for being the right side of my brain. I appreciate it, man. And Keto Simple, it's good to see you, my friend. I love you too,
It's
brother.
a scary place, man.
Dude, you shouldn't thank me for being here. You should thank me for watching shit like that for the show.
Thank you for putting up with Gerry.
Look, I have something important to say here, and I'm going to say this very clear to Anima. I am so... Nobody can hear you. You got to be louder.
Oh, but you heard me. Give it up, Gerry. It's you. It's horrible. They'll never make it.